Sorry about 9:06. I was trying to find something. I thought I found it, and I lost it, and then I found it again. Okay, so since it is Friday, you know that we always have to start the show one way and one way in particular, so here we go.
Come on, man. Go for it, dude.
It's Friday. Friday. Day.
Stack loaded and otherwise packed to go, and here's the rundown as we know it. Mike Gramajo, WESH-TV in Orlando with his cup of coffee. He's coming up here in a sec. He'll be opening kickoff. You've got Hunter Riggall from the Marietta Daily Journal talking about the vote that happened yesterday involving Atlanta United and NWSL 2028, NWSL Atlanta Team 17. It was good news. We'll go over it with Hunter at the bottom of the hour. 9:45, Francisco X. Rivera starts our Apple TV wave. He'll go from 9:45 till about 10. Danny Higginbotham joins us at 10 o'clock. Then it's Dave Johnson, the legend up in Washington, D.C., to talk about DC United, to give us the intel there. Bart Keeler is going to be joining us after that to talk about USMNT. And Britain has made, GBR has made their call-up, some surprises there. You're going to hear from Scott Wells, the head coach at Asheville City, after their cup set 2 nights ago. And we caught up with him at lunch outside in Asheville while he's on vacation. We got to get into cup sets. We got to get into CONCACAF. We got to get into the weekend, your refs, your juice boxes, all the things, which means one thing. Opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com, is, in fact, the aforementioned Mike Gramajo from WESH-TV in Orlando. Sir, you've had your coffee, or at least a little bit of it. Thanks for coming in.
No. As soon as you sent me that email earlier this week, trying to book me for the morning, I was like, I'm gonna need some coffee to, just kick off everything. So no pressure, right?
None whatsoever, my friend. Okay, I'm just gonna ask it this way: what the hell's going on down there?
So I think that's a fair question to ask, because a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks or so. So just, I guess, to kind of recap everything in a nutshell, but I'm going to make sure it's very well detailed so everyone's aware. So obviously 3 weeks into the MLS season, or obviously Orlando City did not open up the year as expected. 3 straight losses, 3 very terrible losses. We can go from game 1 where they had a very terrible first half against Red Bull. Second half, they played a lot better, still lost. Then they went into the Miami game week 2 at home, leading 2-0 at halftime. Played a pretty good first half, but then a messy with a 2-goal performance. Basically was able to rally a comeback, and Miami won that game 4-2. And then you go over to New York City, who's been a really good team this year so far. I believe they're top of the Eastern Conference standings. So you go to Yankee Stadium week 3. You lose your starting goalkeeper 16 minutes into the game when he catches the ball outside of the box, gets issued a straight red. Obviously, you're playing in the Yankee Stadium, a very narrow field. You're already trying to play a certain way because of just how that field is, but you get bombarded with a bunch of goals. They end up losing 5-0, apart from being down 10. So going into week 4, this past weekend against CF Montreal, right? There is a change in the coaching department, just to kind of say. And it's interesting enough, it came at a real interesting time, because obviously you deal with the shellacking that happened in the Bronx. We speak with Oscar Pereira on Tuesday. The feeling in the training field that morning, if I can recall, it just felt somber. It just felt like something was bound to change. it just I just don't know how else to describe it. You would have to be there just to kind of know, but the vibe just was not sitting there. And then Wednesday we get the news release from the team that Oscar Pareja and the team have mutually parted ways. By Thursday we have a press conference with sporting director Ricardo Moreta, who basically says Martin Perelman will be assuming the interim title, shares more details. And obviously we go into the Montreal game where Orlando gets its first win of the season. They played a surprisingly pretty good game against a pretty bad Montreal side. But now we go into this weekend where they are going to go up against a really tough team in Nashville that just won this past midweek against, well, they tied against Miami, but right. They advanced on away goals, but still a pretty big accomplishment. They advanced to the CONCACAF Champions Cup in the knockout stage. So yeah, coaching change. The team is dealing with that. Martin Perelman is the new interim coach for the time being, and that's where we are right now.
Is the vibe any different even after a win against a substandard CF Montreal team? What has the vibe been like this week as you head into week 2 of a new coach bump?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I asked Brian Ojeda, one of their new players that kind of just came in this past winter. It's worth mentioning the team shipped a lot of allocation money for that player. He's technically listed as the third DP, though the team does repeatedly say that in the event that the team signs, quote unquote, an Antoine Griezmann type, Ojeda could be brought down with Tam. But I asked Ojeda that question: how has things kind of changed, considering obviously? But he mentioned that it really didn't feel any different. I mean, and it is worth noting, Martin Perelman has been with the team for the last, let's say, 3-4 years. He was brought in as the 17 coach for Orlando City B back in 22. He was a Ricardo Moreta hire. I will mention that, but he was bumped up to first team assistant coach in 2024. So he's very familiar with this team. So I think the fact that, you kind of move on from Oscar and then you just bump up Martin Perelman, it didn't cause that much of a drift, or it didn't cause that much of a change. Yes, you're going to see probably Martin kind of put in his own type of nuances and training style to the team. But as far as the team feeling that sudden change or feeling that they're going to have to adjust, no. This team does look like they're going to be more attacking style, because that is something that Martin kind of prides on as far as his style of play, where Oscar was more of a possessive style, attacking style, but sometimes, and even most times, was a very defensive stance or a defensive style of play. And then, that was something that really kind of backfired from fans, because they wanted to see a team attacking. So with Martin, you're going to see more of an offensive style team. And I think that's the only thing we're kind of seeing different in the training ground. And we saw a little bit on the actual pitch against Montreal.
When you caught up with him media day, and this is an exchange that I have kept in the library on purpose, because we would go back to it. Oscar Pareja was not happy with the lack of imports, made it known, which is, somewhat rare, but I figured that Oscar had the emotional capital to do it with everything that he had been there tenure and so much. So he lays it on the line at media day. I'm not happy. I don't like what we haven't done. For a double negative, my mom would drive me crazy on that one. And so he wasn't happy going in. Then if he's not happy going in, you bring in the 3 U22s that are Brazilian, you bring in Griffin Dorsey, you bring in all these pieces. Was he any happier with what had been done between media day and the beginning of the year, or was he still kind of salty about everything?
Well, I don't think it's I would say he was unhappy, maybe a little salty, definitely not pleased with how the team was probably set up. You think about it, I mean, the team did have somewhat of a roster overhaul, and the players you bring in return, majority of them are young players. I mean, you have the 3 under 22s. You sign the draft picks that were were selected, and then you bring in 3 veteran players that have known or they're familiar with MLS and with Maxime Crepeau, Brian Ojeda, and then Griffin Dorsey. But I think that's where a majority of that unpleasing comes from, because the players that left, you match them with the players that came. It's like apples and oranges. You're kind of comparing, and I think that's where a little bit of the displeasure came from. But it goes. I think it's a little bit more beyond that, because even with those players that did leave, those players were involved in a really bad stretch of games at the end of last season. I mean, let's not forget, this is a team that in their final 10 games across all competitions, they only won 1 game. You know, as soon as that semifinal game in Leagues Cup where they lost against Inter Miami, as soon as that happened, everything kind of just nosedived for Orlando. They were put in a really bad stretch of games. They were standing somewhere in the 4th, 5th in the Eastern Conference standings, and then by the time they were, the regular season ended, they were now competing for a wild card game where they got shellacked against Chicago. Mm-hmm. So I think it goes beyond. It goes a little bit more beyond as far as what players were brought in, what players were excluded. But I think that the displeasure kind of comes from that, but then it comes from also how things were kind of handled in the offseason when it comes to kind of moving players around and really not putting a strong team to what Oscar probably would have wanted, as opposed to what Ricardo would have wanted.
So this is, I guess, a 2-pronged question. I guess, was there any thought then to not bringing Oscar back, considering the nosedive? And then how short a leash was it when you did bring him back? Mm-hmm. And you're wondering, literally, okay, after 3 matches, you're that pissed after getting, thumped in the Bronx. Honestly, I thought he might be tarmacked. I honestly did. I thought he might get tarmacked on the way out. But so then if you weren't happy with how it ended last year, why bring him back? And then how short was the leash to where it got to a point? Was it so untenable just after those 3 matches you had to just go ahead and cut your losses? I mean, it's got 2 things going on here that kind of seem to conflict in thought a little bit.
No, that's a good question. I honestly think, and just from what I've been able to kind of understand from what I've been able to kind of report, has been that I don't think there was a plan or there was a plan to look for a coach to replace Oscar.
Okay.
Conversations relating to how bad the team was, those conversations started last year or during that run. I mean, Ricardo even said it after after the whole Oscar news was revealed. He said that these conversations weren't days-long conversation. They weren't weeks-long conversation. I mean, these conversations really started during that bad spell of games towards the end of last year. Why did it take that long? That's a good question. I don't think that's something we'll ever know. But I would be remiss to not say that I think a reason why it took that long was because, yes, Oscar, they moved on from Oscar, but Oscar is very loved in the team. Yeah. I think the way I think I've seen a couple reports across social media that Oscar was fired. I don't think that was necessarily the case. They genuinely mutually parted ways. They say it already. The club officials say it, and it just feels certainly like they mutually parted ways. I think it came down to making that hard decision, having that hard conversation where both parties were like, hey, things are not going accordingly. I think it's best that we just kind of mutually just go our separate ways. And I think that's how it generally came down to. And the reason why I mean that's what's been said to us. Yeah. That's what that's just the vibe we're getting. Ricardo even said it in his press conference days after the news, was that Oscar is basically an institution in his organization. He really helped take this team to the next level. He really instilled the culture in this organization. He's loved, but it's time for this team, quote unquote, to go into a new direction, unquote. So I think that's where it really came down to. So what happens next? Is Martin going to be the interim coach for a certain amount of time before the team goes outside? Honestly, I think Martin's going to be in here for the long. I don't want to say the long haul, but I think he's going to be given this season.
Okay.
Ricardo basically said about a week and a half ago that he's going to put his full support on him. Really didn't discard the idea of looking outside. He's open to both scenarios, but it really seems like Martin is going to be given that full that opportunity to take this team through the season. Now, could I be wrong? Maybe, because obviously he got his first win. You look at the schedule ahead. They have Nashville, they have LAFC, they have Columbus Crew. I don't know. Things could change. If things change fast for Oscar, what's to say that things are not going to change that fast for Martin? But what I can say as far as kind of drafting the contrast between Oscar and Martin, this team did look more attacking, more offensive minded against Montreal. I think if they're able to take that type of performance and build on it and go into Nashville, we could see an Orlando team turning the corner. But it's only 1 week in the Paramount era. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens in Nashville on Saturday.
Okay, and you're a decided dog. Plus 475 for Orlando City. Nashville for the 625 Eastern kick is a minus 189. Obviously, you're not going to have Crépeau in net because he touched the ball outside the 14 in New York City. It's not an 18. I think it's probably more like a 14, considering Peter Vermes called it a 106 by 68. That's kind of what we call it anyway. Anticipated changes going up to Nashville lineup-wise. What's it going to look like?
Yeah, so I think we may see the same lineup. I don't think we'll probably see Eduardo Tuesta. He was not fully participant in training earlier this week. Now, Martin did say that Eduardo Tuesta was just given an extra day of recovery. So that could be it. But he hasn't been really fit for most of the season. He's been either banged up with injuries or just not there yet. He did play in that Montreal game, but was substituted. So I don't think we'll see that much of Eduardo Tuesta there. David Brecalo, the team's center back now, because I have to keep reminding myself he's no longer the team's left back, because that's the position he played last year. But he did participate in training on Tuesday, but then towards the end, he was away from the team. He was sidelined. I don't know if that was because of injury or not. So I will probably just be on the lookout for that as far as, whether he will be participant or not. If he isn't, then that's really an interesting thing, because the team is pretty, when it comes to depth, they are pretty weak in that role. Nolan Miller, the draft pick from this past winter, will likely get that starting nod, if anything. I don't see that much changes. Obviously, the team doesn't have that many strikers, so Duncan McGuire is probably going to be their starting striker on Nashville. Martin Ojeda, Marco Pasalic, they had good performances on Saturday. They trained fully on Tuesday, so I expect them there. Ivan Angulo, a Colombian winger, he has been a player that you have to keep an eye on. He is, apart from being really, really speedy, able to go against players on the 1v1. He has been having a really good, interesting season. I think it's going to be worth seeing if he's able to be consistent with his performances. He has been involved in probably half of the team's goals this year. He was involved in that one goal that was scored by Martin Ojeda, which was the second goal against Montreal, where he basically found Duncan McGuire on a through ball. Duncan McGuire pinged it back to hit Ivan Angulo. Ivan Angulo kept going into the box with the run, found Marco Pasalic, give and go. Ivan Angulo with the ball again, and then found Martin Ojeda. It was a really fast play. If you were to YouTube it or something like that, you'll see how that build up to the goal was. But that was Ivan Angulo all in that goal. So I think it would be worth keeping an eye on Ivan Angulo, because he's just been a player that was very inconsistent last year, but has started to kind of turn the corner this year. Martin Perelman had nothing but praises for him earlier this week, saying he is an important player. He wishes that every player in the team would exemplify that work rate that he carries. So I don't think much changes apart from those players that I mentioned with Eduardo Tuesta or David Brecalo. But it's Nashville. It's going to be interesting to see what Nashville puts out as well, because they did play midweek. So obviously you're going to have to rotate some players. So we'll see if Callahan is able to kind of what kind of cards he's going to put out against the Lions, because obviously the Lions are not going to be going for a second win in a row in the Martin Perlman era.
Yep, against the tougher opponent. Mike, as always, thanks for being our eyes and ears down there and letting us know what's going on. Obviously, with the turmoil that was going on, we had to ring you up, and I'm glad that we were able to do it with coffee after you got to walk the boss, and everything is going on down there at WESH-TV in Central Florida. As always, thanks for being on, my friend. We'll catch up with you soon.
Appreciate it, John. You have a good one.
All right, there goes Mike Gramajo, and that was opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. We start your day, the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, with notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. There we go. All right, so morning Shooter, morning Ricky, morning David, morning Jordan. Thanks for coming in. And, yeah, we're going to be flying around this morning a lot. So we'll see what happens this morning. All right, so since Mike mentioned it, and we mentioned the juice boxes for Nashville and Orlando City, here's what we know with everybody else. 1 o'clock, so 1:10. Add 10 minutes to the start time. Toronto is a dog at home at a plus 170, hosting Columbus Crew. They're at a plus 160, draws a plus 260. 4:30, which probably means 4:50. Philadelphia hosting Chicago Fire. They're favored at a plus 125. Both the draw and the Fire are a plus 240. That one's a head scratcher. We mentioned Nashville and the purple team. Atlanta United right now, plus 104 at home against DC United. Dave Johnson joining us at 10:30. DC United's a plus 280, draws a plus 250. Also at 7:40, Charlotte hosting Red Bull. Charlotte's a plus 129. Baby Bulls are a plus 229, draws a plus 240. Copa Tejas, one of 3 840 starts. Dallas is a plus 120 at home, hosting Houston, who's a plus 220. Your draw's a plus 250. Sporting hosting Colorado at a plus 135. Sporting is favored at home against Colorado. The Colorado's a plus 200, draws a plus 260. St. Louis City, which is where KCD is going to be with Christian Miles against New England. They are favored at the minus side, minus 114, hosting the Revs at a plus 280, draws a plus 300. 8:55, which means they're going to be on either FS1 or Big FOX. Austin at Q2, hosting LAFC at a plus 300. LAFC is a minus 105. Your draws a plus 260. I will be intrigued to see what the lineup looks like for LAFC. Late night, 10:40, Vancouver hosting San Jose. It's a minus 182. San Jose north of the border, plus 475. Your draws a plus 333. Sunday, 2 1 o'clockers. FC Cincinnati hosting CF Montreal at a minus 147. I want to see how Cincinnati responds to what happened last night. CF Montreal's a plus 400, draws a plus 300. NYC hosting Messi and Friends at the 106/68. And it is NYC favored at a plus 125. I think Messi and Friends are going to be pissed at a plus 195, draws a plus 280. 240, Minnesota hosting Seattle at a plus 179. Sounders are favored at a plus 163. Draw is a plus 240. 445, which means 55. So it's a big FOX game in some manner or degree. Portland hosting LAG at a plus 120. A team that will score a lot of goals but gives up a lot of goals. Favored at home, LAG coming off of CONCACAF Champions Cup, where they won 3-0 over Mount Pleasant at a plus 220. I want to see what LAG's lineup is like. My guess is that's why the number is what it is. Draw is a plus 280. Late night, 7:10. Sunday night soccer, San Diego FC hosting RSL. From the Murph Dragon, San Diego is a minus 120. RSL is a plus 309. And your draw is a plus 290. Those are your juice boxes when it comes to Major League Soccer this weekend. So there you go. Shooter, for Cincy, Cincy is, he's not a fan of Cincy. 11 goals in a week. 11 goals in a week. And Shooter's Revs have found some offense. It's been fun to see what New England has put together so far early part of the year. So it is intriguing, to say the very least, to see what's going on. We do have an announcement when it comes to next week. We're still looking for a game on Tuesday. We'll be in Hogansville on Thursday for Morgan County and Callaway, the doubleheader at their soccer facility. That's going to happen next Thursday. So that'll be, once again, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. So Thursday night, Thursday afternoon, we are in Hogansville at Callaway to see their soccer facility. Morgan County Callaway next Thursday on the network. Okay, 9:30, hot tag. And I apologize for 9:31 because I was talking too long. Time to bring in Hunter Riggall, Marietta Daily Journal. Find out what's going on, what happened yesterday at a rather important meeting involving Atlanta United, AMBSC, and NWSL's Team 17, Atlanta 2028. Hunter, good morning. Thanks for dropping by. I know it was a late afternoon and evening for you.
Morning. No, happy to be here. No problem.
You-
I'm still drinking my coffee, but you know.
That's all. I was going to ask if you are properly caffeinated for this segment, and so what is the mug that you have? By the way, we always ask this question.
Oh, it's just a very basic. It's got Ben Franklin on it. On this
There we
side.
go. Okay.
I've had it a long time.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. So, how do you take your coffee, sir?
Black.
Wow. Okay. All right. So then you will be gassed up and ready for this. Yesterday, an important decision was made in the city of Marietta, and thank you for coming on to break it all down for us. Team 17 in the NWSL got the okie doke, and it was 7-0. So break down what happened with the vote and where we are with what happens next.
Sure. So, yeah, the Marietta City Council approved unanimously, as he said, to enter a memorandum of understanding is the technical term, but basically to enter a contract with Arthur Blank's NWSL team, and they will be building their headquarters and practice fields in Marietta on Franklin Gateway. It's about a half-mile south of the Atlanta United facility.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 4 full-size fields and I think 2 half-sized fields, and it's sort of a little bit of a complicated transaction because the city is selling some land. They're also getting some land back from Blank that will be turned into a park. But yeah, there's like a due diligence period, and the council will come back in mid-April to kind of give it a final approval. But I think it's pretty much a done deal, obviously, with the unanimous support. And I think I saw the NWSL club put out a video with Josh Blank and Rich McKay kind of announcing this and celebrating it. So, yeah.
All right. So for those of us who are not as depth of field when it comes to Marietta traffic that you are, so if I've got this correct, you turn right on Franklin Gateway. So you get off at the Delk Road exit. You do the loop around. You're going north on 75. You get off at Delk. You come under and you come back over the top. You turn right on Franklin Gateway, and this is that property that's across the street from the community park and the fields that are right there on your way to the practice facility. That's right?
Exactly, yeah. So on your left side, you got the city's public sports complex, and then right across the street from that, it's 34 acres. Was many years ago, there were some apartments and shopping center, and then those were torn down, and it was supposed to be an IKEA. That never materialized. IKEA did own the property, but COVID happened, and they kind of drew back from some of their plans, and so it's. I mean, there's some concrete and trees and whatnot, but it's pretty much vacant, and it's a big piece of land. But so when the team was announced late last year, the Mayor Steve Tumlin in Marietta kind of was pretty public about wanting to attract the women's facility to Marietta as well. So he and the council approached IKEA, bought the property back, and are now selling it to Blank.
Had there been any dissension on the city council, or was this pretty much going to be a 7-0 fait accompli on the vote?
Not that I heard. It was 7-0. The vote to acquire the property from IKEA was 7-0, although that was actually a different council because we had an election last November, and so we have a few new members that joined in January. But no, they all seemed very excited. They did have a public comment period last night, which they actually weren't legally required to do, but and so there was a few people who spoke. It was a pretty celebratory atmosphere, and there was definitely consensus among the city and the council members that this is all what they wanted. But there were a couple people who spoke, not necessarily. Some of them were. One of them was kind of in opposition, but some of the people also were just saying things like, I live in this area, this is great, but we have a lot of sports facilities. Can we, get some other things in this part of town? So, but
Okay.
yeah.
So the 10-acre piece that is a part of this trade. So AMBSE gets 33. They get the IKEA property. Their city of Marietta is getting 10 from AMBSE on Franklin Gateway. Where is that 10 acres that is a part of this trade?
Sure. The 10 acres is right across the street from Atlanta United. So it's on the west side of the street.
Okay.
It's pretty much wooded entirely. There's a real old dilapidated house on that lot, but there's basically nothing there. And Rich McKay, when he joined the call, he joined a video call right after the vote, and the council members were all putting on scarves and whatnot. And he said something to the effect of, we bought this land across the street from Atlanta United years ago to protect ourselves, we wanted to be able to control what was across the street from us. And so, yeah, that'll now go to the city. So the IKEA lot where the women's facility will go is being sold for $10 million from the city to blank. The city's retaining 1.25 acres to add more public parking of that. And then blank is transferring those 10 acres across the street from United to the city. And he's also donating $1 million to help them build a park there. So it's a little complicated, but I think that's about the gist.
Okay. So when you're going back as far into your memory banks as you can, looking at AMBSE as a corporate steward and partner there in Marietta and Cobb County, can you quantify the impact that AMBSE has had, whether it's outside of Atlanta United, of what we're talking about, outside of Team 17 in the NWSL? How has AMBSE / Atlanta United been as a steward and a business partner to Cobb County and to the city of Marietta as far back as you can recall? What's the relationship's obviously positive, but can you quantify it in any way?
That's a good question. I don't have any numbers on hand that, whether, I mean, I do know that the Atlanta United facility, he is in AMBSE has invested something like $90 million into that. The women's facility, the contract actually says that they will invest at least $60 million, although city officials say that they expect it to be more than that. I'm not entirely sure how many people work at those two,
Right,
or will work at the new facility, but I think they feel like the city certainly feels like they have a good relationship with them. They do partner with them to do events, and they host youth groups and whatnot at the Atlanta United facility, and I think the city views it as certainly an asset in the community, and something that they felt like had been a success with Atlanta United. So they wanted to, kind of replicate that, expand on that with the women's facility.
What else stood out to you from the deal? Were there any other bullet points that folks need to know about and be aware of going forward before this next due diligence meeting that comes up next month or so?
Not really. I mean, a lot of this happened behind closed doors. We kind of knew it was coming when they bought the IKEA lot, and the mayor was pretty open that this is what he wanted. But things moved pretty quickly, and I guess they need to start building pretty quickly if they're going to start in 2028. But Yeah, I think at this point, everything seems pretty locked up, and they kind of just need to cross their T's and dot their I's.
All right. So when's the due diligence meeting again? April?
I think it's April 15th. Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. I can't thank you enough for hopping on with your Ben Franklin mug and the morning cup of black coffee to lay everything out for us since you were there with Team 17 taking their next steps with Atlanta United, AMBSC up there in the city of Marietta. I can't thank you enough, Hunter, especially on the quick turn and early morning. I really appreciate your time, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
There goes Hunter Riggall, and he is with the Marietta Daily Journal. And so Team 17 taking their next steps. They've taken the 33-acre IKEA property, for those of you that drive up toward the Atlanta United training facility and those offices up there, that big vacant lot. That's what's going to be for Team 17 coming up as the due diligence meeting in April, mid-April, and we go from there. And that's the next steps for Team 17 and AMBSC. Okay, hot tag. This is where we jump from the middle of the ring and we dive to the corner. We catch up with the X-Man, Francisco X Rivera, and this is really cool. I know that we only have him until the top of the hour, so you begin our Apple block, sir. Good morning. Thanks for dropping by the morning show.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me.
All right. So you get Vancouver on Saturday, sir, ... What has study hall been like getting ready for this one?
Well, this is going to be probably my 20th time in Vancouver. So this is a team that I've followed since we started MLS and Apple TV. I mean, not counting my years with LAFC, the 5 previous years from 2018 to 2022. So I did my first MLS on Apple game there. So I officially did the first game in Canada for MLS on Apple TV. I was pretty much the resident Vancouver voice in Spanish for, a couple of years or so until I moved East Coast last year to work for the Braves. So, going back to the West and seeing a team that I've seen develop from the days of Vanni Sartini and the way he sort of developed and grew the foundation for that team to Jasper Sorensen taking over last year. It's been a joy to see, and getting to meet a lot of the players then, and now I get to see San Jose, a team that I called their game 2 weeks ago against Philadelphia, and now they got Timo Werner. So I'm so excited to see it. I don't have to prep as much then again because these are teams that I have fresh in my head and my memory. But at the same time, super excited to see the potential duel between Timo Werner and Thomas Muller, two of the guys that I admire. And I think in terms of German players, they're both in my top 5.
When you look at Vancouver, obviously they've been kind of busy in the midweek. How much starting 11 turnover are you anticipating? Are you going to just sit there and be like, yeah, okay, rest? Jesper Sorensen sits there, puts them in a ninth bath, trots them out against San Jose, and everything's fine. How different a look do you think they're going to be?
You know what? That's one of the things that MLS teams are learning about. If you're playing in Europe, let's say the EPL, you know that you're going to play potentially 4 tournaments, right? You're going to play 2 cups. You're going to play the Champions League. You're going to play the league. And I think this is something that MLS is slowly learning, but they're increasing the depth of their teams. And I think I'm glad to see it. There's some unfortunate cases. And again, we saw what happened with Cincinnati, yesterday against Tigres. And I did their game Sunday against New England. And, they allowed 6. Right. And I think they made a lot of changes. If I'm not mistaken, they made 7 changes from the midweek against Tigres, midweek game. And then they were probably thinking, okay, we're going to bring our best weapons into the second half. We're going to be able to make it work. We'll rest them for the next day. So it's always a bet, man. It's always a coin toss when you make those changes, when you try to get protected for one game and you sort of disprotect yourself or unprotect yourself for the other. So it's a coin flip. Then again, I'm not expecting, and I haven't talked to the coach yet, so don't quote me on this. I'm not expecting Thomas Muller to start, at least. But then again, they might surprise, especially. I think they want to take good care of him. It's going to be a long season, and he's their biggest asset, so they'll probably want to protect him. So, but they're an offensive team. They're going to be on your face all the time. They're pressure. I think that's one of the traits that we've seen from Vancouver since the Vanni Sartini days. So even if they use some alternate players, I'm not expecting them really to sit back and leave San Jose the bulk of it. San Jose is also a very aggressive team. They like to press. I saw it against Philadelphia 2 weeks ago. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. It's going to be offensive. It's going to be back and forth.
All right, so the starting 11 in the midweek for Vancouver, Takaoka in that back four left to right, Johnson, Priso, Laborda, and Ocampo. The two in front of them, Kubas and Sebastian Berhalter. Three midfielders in the attack, AZ Jackson, Mueller, and Jivan Bodwal, and then Brian White up top. I don't know what Brian White is eating or drinking or what, but it seems like that switch got flipped for him, and he is everything he touches is heading a goalward these days, and it's like he can do no wrong, it seems.
You know what's interesting? In 2023, he had a rough stretch, and we were just waiting for the emergence of Brian White. We knew what he could do. We saw him with the Red Bulls, and I think when you have that expectation looming over you, that adds a lot of responsibility. And all of a sudden, it's funny because I remember doing Vancouver beginning of the season, and he had a very, very dry stretch. And then all of a sudden, I came back like 2 months later, and he was already like top of the scoring leaderboard. I'm like, what happened? And I guess what happened is what we expected and what we wanted to happen for Brian White. And he's a number 9 that I really like that type of number 9. He's that guy that's feisty, that's strong, that he's a body inside the area, and he's going to fight for every ball out there. That he's also going to create chances for his teammates, that he can post up and he can give you the ball there so you can shoot from long range. He can throw it to the sides so they can center it back to the area. I really like Brian White, and he's a hustler more than anything. He's not a guy that's just going to be waiting for the ball to land in his head so he can attempt a shot on goal. He's going to be that guy that's going to be fighting for his opportunities, but very smart at the same time because he knows where to position himself. He's not just going to be flying somewhere else close to midfield trying to get that opportunity. He's always going to be there. And he understands, and again, that he has a lot of really good players around him, from when he played with Ryan Gold, who's unfortunately out for the season, to now Thomas Mueller, to Andres Cubas. A lot of the football or the soccer offensively for Vancouver is going to start with Andres Cubas building from midfield, and then he's going to toss it around, and he's got very capable guys on the wing as well. So I think he understands the responsibility, and once I think that formula sort of came to fruition, I think once the chemistry started getting tighter for Vancouver, we really saw the beast of Brian White being unleashed.
Francisco X Rivera hanging out with us for about another 7 or 8 minutes. I know that you turn into a pumpkin or close to 10 o'clock, and that's when Danny Higginbotham tags in after you. Since you mentioned Cincy, I do want to get there, but I want to get through San Jose first, because Cincinnati's collapse is just like, oh my God, and we have to get into that a little bit. San Jose, Atlanta United, since we're based here in Atlanta, obviously that's one of our tent poles. The early match this season against San Jose, as Atlanta United was trying to kind of get their sea legs a little bit with what Tata Martino wants them to do. Sure. The young players for San Jose, and the same with RSL basically, but it's the younger players for San Jose are stepping up and causing problems for people. What has it been like to see these young guys step up for Bruce Arena, who he's just like, yeah, look, if you show it to me Monday through Friday, I don't care what the driver's license says, I'm putting you in the lineup. So the young guys for San Jose are stepping up.
Well, there's 2 guys that I really set my eyes on when I started doing MLS and Apple TV. I knew San Jose well, then again, because of the duels against LAFC and their days with Matias Almeida. And they went through a rebuild, and it's been a tough rebuild for Bruce Arena, but I think he's getting them on track. But there were 2 guys that I pay attention to. Kate Cowell, who eventually ended up going to Mexico playing for Chivas de Guadalajara, and then Nico Shakiris. They were in the U20s. They sort of started together. They climbed up the ladder together. And, Shakiris was one of those promising guys, but I really didn't know what to make out of what I saw from him. And all of a sudden, I saw him against Philly 2 weeks ago after not seeing him for a while. And man, I was pleasantly surprised. And I actually talked to Bruce yesterday on our coaches call, and I told him, like, I'm not shocked, but pleasantly surprised about what I saw from him. He looks like a leader. He looks like a very smart guy that can play behind your number 9. He can also play on the wing. He fights for every ball in the when you get to attacking third. He can shoot from long range. He can pass well. But then again, having that ability to being the leader, and the way San Jose plays now that Timo Werner's adapted to one of the wings, they use Werner on one side, they use Oseni Buda on the other side, who's also been killing it. And then you have that guy in the middle who can be so important. Number 10s have really disappeared from the world of football or soccer. But there's some teams still that will use that guy that can be the brains, that could be the creator behind your number 9, and Nico Shakiris can be that guy. So Preston Judd will have some freedom up top. But then again, sometimes you don't expect that from a younger kid. But you know what? He understands the responsibility. He's played the World Cup with the U20s. He knows what it is to be under that pressure, to be under the radar. So I'm excited to see what Nico Shakiris can do and eventually become, a star in the national team. I know this is, we're a long ways from that, but I'm excited from what I've seen from him so far.
2 other young dudes that I wanted to get your opinion on: Bo LaRue, who Bruce had a lot of faith in last year, and Reed Roberts, who has kind of been put into play as one of the center backs at times this season. Yeah. They've been added to this mix as well for the young guys that are making their own impacts in San Jose too, I think.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to do the Galaxy for 3 years, from 2013 to 2015. And from what I saw, Bruce is a guy that does not complicate things much for himself or the team. He has his core, he has his base, and especially with the Galaxy, you had a lot of veterans. You had some DPs. I mean, he got Giovanni Dos Santos at the time. He had Robbie Keane. Then he had Landon Donovan, David Beckham. So, it's kind of like there's not much room for the younger guys to get adapted in this system. And then he went to New England, and he worked with a lot of guys who were coming from college that were just drafted. One of them that comes to mind, Ian Harkes, who had a very special relationship with Bruce. And we were talking about it the other day because he grew up Ian with his dad, John, played for Bruce at the time. And they grew up together in Fairfax, Virginia. So he's a guy that he pulled from New England to San Jose, understanding then again that he knows some of the players and he likes to see some of the younger players developed. And I remember talking to him about it. And it's not necessarily the fact that he likes to develop players or that he wants to use college players or rookies or you name it. It's just, necessity at times. And it's just what he sees, and he calls it as he sees it. And I think Roberts is a guy that's been very interesting. I like what I've seen from him, and I think he can become a player to be reckoned with within San Jose's system.
All right, since I know that you have to go from one end of the planet to the other to go to call this match with San Jose and Vancouver, before you go, right, you mentioned Cincinnati, and I was stunned. They've given up 11 goals in a week now. I mean, what is the temperature at Pat Noonan's seat behind his desk? I mean, are we what's the temperature there? Have we hit hot sauce on his seat right now?
I don't think so. I mean, you also have to take a look at not only losing, but how you lose. Mm-hmm. And then these are decisions that I think you make. And obviously Pat knows much more soccer than I do, but these are decisions that you make. Then again, trying to protect a lead, perhaps trying to focus on one thing. And as I said, Major League Soccer teams are learning how to work, having to play 2 or 3 tournaments at the same time. And we're going to have Leagues Cup eventually, right? So we have Open Cup, Champions Cup, etc. So these guys are getting used to it. It's not easy, to be honest. And I think when it comes to depth, right now, I don't think we can match Liga MX with what they have, especially a team like Tigres, a team like Monterrey, Club America, even Cruz Azul. We're going to see Cruz Azul, LAFC. That's a matchup I'm really, really excited about. I started with Philadelphia when I did the Philadelphia-San Jose game. They had to make some changes because they were playing Club America in just a few days. And I remember Bradley Carnell making some changes towards the end and sort of protecting their players and try to keep them fresh. But as I said, it's a conflict. Even if you play every guy for 90 minutes on each one of the matches, you have no guarantee, right? And so, I appreciate somehow what Cincinnati did in the game against New England. And I think it was, New England was not playing well. They had a rough season last year. They're a talented team, but I said, they have a lot of variables. They have a little margin of error. So no one really thought that New England was going to score 6, to be honest. I mean, that was only the second time that they had scored 6 in their MLS history. And what's funny about it, Pat Noonan was present the last time they scored 6 goals, and he actually scored twice
Wow.
against Colorado, which to me was very ironic. At the same time, so he's been present the 2 times that Revolution has scored 6 in a game. So no one expected it. Just the Revolution had an amazing day. They had a day that they had needed for a long time. So no one really expected for that to happen. But I think that in terms of the motivation, in terms of the mentality, I think it took a big toll in Cincinnati, and that's unfortunate. That it probably carried along to their momentum, or what the momentum they had against Tigres. But when you play teams like that, then again, and I've followed Tigres for a long, long time, and I know when they were cash poor, and I've seen them transition into one of the teams that spend all the money they have, because Monterrey is so rich. I mean, we have to say it.
Yeah.
They have the resources, and I've seen that. Teams like that, it's hard to play against, and they have 20 really good players. So even if you rest a lot of guys, that there's going to be 5, 6, 7 other guys that will come up and punish you. So it's one of those unfortunate situations, and hopefully Cincinnati will learn from this, if there's anything to learn from this situation.
Yeah, so now you open up another door, man. I need to have you back to just talk Liga MX. Liga MX, man. We do that too. Okay, so who's your tag team partner in Vancouver?
It's going to be Paul Dolan, who I'm really excited to work with, because Paul and I have met several times since I've been in Vancouver. Sometimes that we've met in Toronto, and he played for Canada and Mexico in 1986. And even though I was little and I don't remember anything from that World Cup, he's been telling me stories of the cities that he traveled to. And it's great. I really like Paul, and I think we're gonna do great. It's gonna be fun. And then I'm also a big hockey guy, so going to Vancouver, I got a couple, actually. Whenever you guys watch a game, I got a couple of hockey connections with Vancouver Whitecaps. So you guys are gonna love it, I'm sure. So very ad hoc, I think, very proper.
Hey man, look, the fact that you're a puckhead, the fact that you can talk Liga MX, the fact that you can come on here and talk about anything and everything, I love it. You now officially know where the garage door opener is. You know where the key is under the mat. Do not be a stranger and come in and crash. And it's like, dude, I got to get something off my chest. I want to come in and crash. Let me know. Door is wide open for you, my friend. Come on in anytime. It was great to see you. Don't be a stranger. Get there safely, please, and get back home, and we'll catch up with you next time. Thanks for dropping in on a crunch.
Thank you, my friend. It's a pleasure. And then again, hopefully heading to Hartsfield Jackson, I don't get too many of the headaches.
Yes,
sir. Thanks for everything, John.
Be good.
See you next time. Bye.
All right, there goes Francisco X Rivera, X-Man, dropping in. And so he's got to go to Hartsfield. And so he's going to Hartsfield. Just get there safe, man. And the fact that we got to catch up with him about a couple of different things. Danny Higginbotham set to join us after the top of the hour, and we will get into all of the ref assignments and all the things before Danny gets here, or at least we'll start. How about that? Let's do that. Let's get into our ref assignments as we like to do. Toronto and Crew at BMO. Pierre-Luc Lozier is the man in the middle. Gerard Carrier-Lebuy and Gianni Facchini are your ARs. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is your fourth. Eunice Maracci and John Krill are upstairs. Philadelphia and Chicago. Nabil Ben Salah is the man in the middle. Jeremy Kiso. Ian McKay, your ARs. Ricardo Montero Araya is your fourth. David Barry and Tom Supple are upstairs. Nashville and Orlando City. Victor Rivas in the middle. Jeff Schwartzel, Walt Heatherly, your ARs. Sergei Demyanchuk, who we know we need to catch up with, is your fourth. Kevin Stott and Claudio Badea are upstairs. For Atlanta and DC, it is Jair Marufo in the middle. We'll get numbers and notes on Jair Marufo before we go. Corey Rockwell, Oscar Mitchell Carvalho, your ARs. Brad Jensen is your fourth. Kevin Terry and Tom Supple are upstairs. Charlotte and Red Bulls, Alan Chapman in the middle. Chris Elliott and Red Hamill, your ARs. Benjamin Myers, your fourth. JC Rivero and Mike Kampminer are upstairs. Copa Tejas, Rosendo Mendoza, man in the middle. Andrew Bigelow, Kevin Locke, your ARs. Lorenzo Hernandez, your fourth. Ismir Pekmich and Jeff Mushik are upstairs. Sporting in Colorado, Fotis Bazakis, the man in the middle. Kyle Atkins and Corey Parker, your ARs. Edson Carvajal is your fourth. Jorge Gonzalez and TJ Zablocki are upstairs. City and Revs, Sergi Boyko, the man in the middle. Nick Uranga, Jeffrey Greason, your ARs. Mohammed Hassan is your fourth. Edvin Jurasevich, Joshua Patlak are upstairs. Austin and LAFC, Rubiel Vasquez, the man in the middle. Jose de Silva, Stephen McGonigal, your ARs. Ismail Elfath is your fourth. Eunice Maracci and John Krill are upstairs. Vancouver and San Jose, Chris Penso, Quick trigger, Chris Penso in the middle. Corey Richardson, Brooke Mayo, your ARs. Malik Badawi is your fourth. David Barry, Robert Schapp are upstairs. Sunday, Cincy in Montreal. Philip Dujic is the man in the middle. Catherine Nesbitt, Mike Nickerson, your ARs. Elihio Adegin is your fourth. JC Rivero and TJ Zablocki are upstairs. NYC and Inter Miami at the 106/68. Armando Villarreal is the man in the middle. Jeremy Hansen, Tyler Wyrostic, your ARs. Marcus de Oliveira is your fourth. Lucas Zapala and Craig Lowry are upstairs. Minnesota and Seattle, John Freeman, no relation, man in the middle. Ryan Graves, Ben Pilgrim, your ARs. Timothy Ford is your fourth. Daniel Radford, Robert Schapp are upstairs. Portland and LAG. Drew Fisher is the man in the middle. Michael Barwagon, Liz Arfa are your ARs. Elton Garcia is your fourth. Edvin Jurasevich and Craig Lowry are upstairs. San Diego and RSL, Sunday Night Soccer at the Murph Dragon. Alexis De Silva is the man in the middle. Cameron Blanchard, Bruno Rizzo are your ARs. Ricardo Fierro is your fourth. Daniel Radford and Joshua Patlack are upstairs. Phew, got through that. All right, MLS referee stats. So now if we look at Jair Marufo and how he handles how things are, ref stats, according to our friends at Who Scored. Referee statistics looking for this season. I don't need last season. I don't need 2023 either. So 2026. So Jair Marufo. No, referee statistics is what I need, people. We go to Who Scored, and when it's sit there and it's like, okay, we're going to go to 26 and we'll go to the schedule and not the matches themselves. Okay, so Jair Marufo has called 2 matches in 3 weeks. His fouls per game average is 8th. Brandon Stevis had 39, so we kind of put him at the edge of the bell curve. Ricardo Fierro calls 36.5. Jair Marufo 8th at 26.5. Fouls per tackle puts him at 1.1, which puts him 4th in fouls per tackle. Keep an eye on that. No penalties so far. Yellows per game, he's at 3, so he's middle of the pack. And so that's just your slight numbers. We'll get into Jair Marufo's 25 numbers coming up in a bit. Hot tag. Time to catch up with a man who I've shared fantasy football information with, and I've been awful. Time to catch up with our buddy Danny Higginbotham and find out what's going on. What's going on, my brother?
I'm good, thanks, John. How are you? One thing I learned from last time: don't take any advice from you. Fantasy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do not do
No.
anything. I'll give you the numbers, and if I tell you something, go running the other way.
That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do going forward, and
Yes.
hopefully it serves me better next season.
Yes. You, sir, have the doubleheader this week with Philly and Chicago and NYC and Messi and friends at the 106/68. I want to ask you this first. We do have parents who watch. We do have, young college students that are trying to, figure out if they want to do this for a career. And when you have multiple games stack up the way that you do, how do you study on a back-to-backer, make sure that you get all the intel that you want, but don't get everything confused? So you're sitting there and you're talking about the great flow of Maxi Falcone when you're talking about Philly and Chicago. How do you compartmentalize when you've got back-to-back games like this?
I think exactly what you're saying is compartmentalize, and I think it's routine. I think that's key. I think ordinarily what I would do if I have a game on a Saturday and it's just one game, I try to sort of put the days in order for everything. So I have NBC on numerous occasions on a Monday, so sometimes that takes Monday out of the equation. I do a show on Sirius every Tuesday morning, so that takes the morning out of the equation. But ordinarily, it will be, okay, if I've not got NBC, then it's Monday, I'll watch one game, as in terms of one of the teams that I'm covering. Tuesday will be sort of, okay, watch the next team. And then it's writing notes, everything like that, looking at a few stats. For me, I always look at it, and the stats are mainly for the play-by-play. And the only time really I'll use stats is to maybe back something up that's tactical. Now, if you've got 2 games, what I've tended to find is that planes are very, very good. Flights are very, very good on the way back. So I was able to watch one of the games on the way back. Last weekend I was in LA. So I watched one of the games on the flight. And then it's just about basically, watching the games as they go along. But I think the biggest thing is the routine and to not get overwhelmed. Because when you speak to what you'll find is, and I think this is any walk of life, is that when you're in the weeds of it all, everything's fine. When you're waiting for it to occur, when you're waiting to start doing your prep or whatever it may be, that's when you can get a little bit, I don't know, sort of feel a little bit, over anxious about things. But then when you get into it, it's fine. But it's all about having that routine. I've got a family that are very understanding as well, knowing that, when you need to do work, which is huge. That's as big as anything else. But yeah, it's the routine. It's having a routine in place, I think, is absolutely vital. Also, otherwise you start chasing your tail. And I've got a nice routine now, because there's been occasions where if you're doing tournament football, you have to find another way to do it. So it's just making sure you're on top of things, not letting it get to you too much, and just going through it. And I find myself in a place now. We're talking, you and me now, Friday morning. I'm there now. I'm sorted of everything. The only thing that I have to do is just wait on a couple of manager calls, and then we move forward. And then when the game starts, it takes care of itself a lot of the time. And the biggest thing is like, I'm crazy with notes, absolutely crazy with notes. And like, I've got them like here in front of me. So it'd just be like something like that. I'm pencil and paper. That's what I am, a pencil and paper guy. And you'll find that the majority of the time, you maybe use 25% of it. But that one day when you think that you can wing it is when the game is going to be awful, and it's going to be 0-0, and you are going to have a lot of time to fill. So yeah, it's really important. The prep for me is the most important part. And like I say, the game takes care of itself. You can't make it better. You can't make it worse. There you go. You've got all your notes. And the good thing is as well, I keep them year after year.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Huge. Massive. There you go. There you go. How big's your fantasy football one? I bet it's about a page, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about a page. And I'm horrendous at it. But no, to your point, what I showed for those that are just listening to us, I went back and I showed my championship notebooks. I call it art class. And because it is your 3-hole punch, it is a ring binder, it is day by day, it is team by team. Every piece of info and intel that I have researched goes into the book, and I lay it in chronologically. And then once I put it all in, if I'm not to that day, if I'm not through the first day's games, I'm not even looking at the next day. So that way I'm not talking about things that don't apply to something that I'm trying to do. So that way I don't get it mixed up in my head.
Do you find, I don't know whether you're the same, but like I say, I'm very old school, so I write everything down. But one of the key things with writing everything down is that you memorize loads of stuff that you write.
Yep.
So when you're then thinking, okay, something's happened in the game and that might be relevant to something that I've got to say, instead of having to look at my notes, I'm like, it's already in my head. And I've always found that really, really beneficial. And like, fair play to everybody that does love it, but like, I struggle to trust technology when it's next to me and when I'm doing a game. So I have a piece of paper, and don't get me wrong, there's been times when my papers have just disappeared. There's been times when the rain's come down and it's like, okay, what does that say?
They're out of order, and you're going, where was this page of notes that I remember writing something down on? I'm like you, literally, I will print things, then I'll write stuff down, and then I'll slide it into the notes for that particular match day or that particular game day. And then that way I've committed it to memory more than once by either printing it or writing it and then remembering it. And so I'm right there with you. Okay, now that we've gone through broadcasting 101 for our friend, but legitimately, when I was told that you're doing a back-to-backer, I'm like, okay, I want to talk about match prep, and I want to get into those kinds of things and compartmentalizing. Literally, that was what popped into my head, because I just finished a 4-day championship run for basketball championships last week, and since I was hosting the whole thing, it's like, okay, I've got to know a little bit about everybody, and I'm not to this event yet, so don't talk to me about it.
Let me ask you this quickly. Let me ask you this quickly, right? So when you're going, because like people say, oh, you have a lot of traveling, you've got the games for prep for and everything like that. Do you find that when you're sort of like doing the prep and then the games are coming thick and fast, like you say, you may have 4 consecutive days, you'll go, and you feel absolutely fine. The minute you stop, your brain's like, oh, you're having a little bit of a rest now, are you? Okay, I'm going to make sure you have a rest. It's unbelievable.
Oh my God. Well, for me, It was the state basketball championships, and it was basically 4 games a day, if not 5, and competitions inside of it. So it was 20 separate championships in a 4-day period, whether it was event-based or game-based, and having to know a little bit of enough to get through each and all of these because I was the host. So it's like I was the O-ish. If something happened with transmission, I've done play-by-play before. Literally, we had the transmission problem, and I ended up getting thrown in the pile doing play-by-play until the transmission link was figured out back to studio. So I was a bridge. I have to be ready for that. I've got to be ready for trophy presentation. I've got to be ready for knowing something about a team. If a sideline reporter happens or if I'm passing notes or anything like that, basically you've got to know all of it for a 4-day period. And then when it's done, I go to Waffle House and get grilled cheese sandwiches and a triple order of hash browns and collapse in the hotel and call for a late checkout on day number 5.
Yeah.
That's how this runs.
I also find that from my own perspective, I do not compare myself to the play-by-play.
No.
I think the role that I have, so in England it would be, the main commentator and the co-com. My role is far simpler. Far simpler. I think the play-by-play, I could never do it. Because I look at it, I work with Steve Cangelosi, and I've said on numerous occasions before, I will never, ever, ever give him a compliment to his face. Never. But he's just incredible with it. And that's when you sort of get that understanding of, oh, right, okay, because there's reads, because there's, if you're hearing me 50-50 with Steve on a broadcast, I'm doing something wrong. I should be probably speaking maybe 25% of the time, something like that. Maybe not even that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, for me, I've always thought of the job, and yes, we will get to Philly, Chicago, and Messi and Friends in NYC in a bit. Dave Johnson's joining us at the bottom of the hour, by the way. So, okay, I've always viewed my role doing play-by-play. So if you and I are in the booth, I've always set it up as soon as the play is done, I shut up and let you talk because you're the expert in all this. You've played it. I can talk through it, but then when the play is over, you're the one that gets into the X's and O's and everything.
Yeah.
So I mean I don't know if it's 75-25. It might be more 50-50 because, like I said, I lay out when the play is over so you can explain what's going on to me and everybody else.
I just think that with the play-by-play, it's like you're doing the running commentary.
Right.
So X passes to Y passes to Z, it goes back and things like that. So I think that, that the way I look at it, okay, maybe 70-30 maybe. Okay. But I just feel as though, like, from my perspective, my job isn't to say what is happening,
okay.
Where's the ball going? Mine is why. Okay. Why is it happening? Right. So I just feel it like that. But I go back to what I said previously, which is the play-by-play is, and this I attribute this to every single play-by-play that I've worked with, whether it be here or whether it be in England. The understanding and the information and the prep work that a play-by-play has to do blows a color commentator or a co-com prep and everything out of the water. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not because like a co-commentator will work less or anything like that. It's just that I think that a play-by-play, for all of the things they have to bring to the table, I think it's a lot more difficult. Then you've got to get the time for the reads, then you've got to get the timing of the reads and everything like that. So I think that, yes, I do the ultimate as in terms of my prep, but when I look at the play-by-play, I think their role is even more significant.
And you've done it, so your prep is between the ears from the practical application of it. So what you see is natural, and you're talking about what you've done before, but you're talking about it looking at other people doing it. Where the stream of consciousness and craziness for someone who has the brain of a golden retriever when it comes to doing hosting and play-by-play. Okay, so. You and Kanji Man have a couple of matches. Like I said, now that we've scared enough kids from doing this as a business going forward.
Hey, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I never said it's not amazing. You just have to put the work in, and the rewards are there. That's for sure.
You ain't kidding, brother. Philly and Chicago. Philly, if I said that they were offensively challenged at the moment, Would that be an accurate description of what's going on? Plus a young back line that doesn't have two Sequoias back there like they've had in years past. So when you can't score and you're finding out at the back that folks can work their way around you and you're trying to do the same system, right now it looks like it's growing pains.
Yeah, I think it goes as one. I think, and bear with me here, I think the attacking side is being affected by the defensive side.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that, if you look at the players that have gone, you lost 50% of your back four, and two of the best players in MLS in their specific positions. Kai Wagner, he's gone to Birmingham City, doing really, really well. Jacob Glesnes has gone to LA Galaxy. I have no doubt about it that he's going to have a great season. He was absolutely magnificent for Philadelphia Union, a leader at the back. So what you have when you lose two players, and obviously we can go into the more forward-thinking players afterwards, but when you lose two players like Kai Wagner and you lose Jacob Glesnes, you lose leadership and you do lose communication. So all of a sudden you've got Macania, who was up there as one of the best centre-backs in MLS last season. He's still, if my memory serves me correct, 21 years of age. So he was outstanding last season, but Glesnes helped him to be outstanding. That's not saying that he's not an outstanding player. So what happened was Jacob Glesnes, he was always the one. He was sort of the front foot defender. Macania was the one, okay, I'll sweep up. His positioning, absolutely brilliant. And Jacob Glesnes knew that if he went forward, then Macania was just going to tuck around and say, okay, you're going to be that front foot. And if the ball goes past you, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there to deal with it. So cool and calm in possession of the ball. Kai Wagner, left back. One of the best left backs in MLS. Obviously, we know about Alba and how outstanding he is and things like that. But I think if you take Alba out of the equation, for me, Kai Wagner has been the best left back in MLS in recent years. He's also a leader. So what happens is, what we're seeing at the moment is a team, and I think if you look at a lot of the goals they concede, they're pressing with a 6, which is the norm, but then you've got a back four that are a little bit deeper. So if you're a number 10 of the opposition, if you're a player that wants drop a little bit deeper, you're going to cause a lot of problems. Hence the reason you look at Almiron last week, one of his best games for Atlanta. He was going into that little pocket. Mm-hmm. Now, if you've got Glesnes, if you've got Wagner at the back there, there's no way those gaps are as big because you've got the leadership, you've got the experience saying, listen, the midfielder going forward, we've got to go forward. But I think what you've got at the moment is a relatively young back four with some new players in that as well. So what you do as a defender when things aren't going according to plan, you sort of you go to what would be your comfort, which is not leaving any space in behind you. So you can have the 6 in front of you that are going to press, but if the 4 aren't pressing, then that press can be broken very, very easily. Whereas last year, you looked at this team and it was up the pitch together, down the pitch together. The gaps were the same in every area of the pitch, in possession or out of possession. So what you've got now is a new centre-back partnership, a new left-back, and that's going to take time to adapt. So bizarrely enough, if you look at Philadelphia Union last season, so many of their goals were scored in the transition, winning the ball back, and they were the best at it in MLS, and teams didn't know how to deal with it. So what's happening defensively is affecting them attacking-wise because they're not turning the ball over higher up the field like they were last season. Teams are actually being able to get past them and maybe take 5 or 6 Philadelphia Union players out of the equation with one pass. So therefore, that opportunity to catch a team in transition and catch a team out of position becomes very, very difficult. Now, it's going to take time. There's new players, there's young players, and what you need now is some of these young players to become the leaders, to say, right, okay, we haven't got the voice of Glesnes, we haven't got the voice of Wagner. Even Bariba, we've not necessarily got the voice of Bariba. We know that Bedoya, for me, Bedoya is such a key player for this team at the moment, especially with everything that's going on in terms of changing. He's so important on the field and so important off the field. But you have less voices on the field now. So now it's about some of these young players going, right, okay, I need to take that leadership now. Regardless of who's wearing the captain's armband, I'm going to behave like a captain and I'm going to be the communicator. Because when Philadelphia Union last season were at their best, it was like a well-oiled machine. Everybody knew what was expected of them. The communication was throughout the team. Now, because you've lost a lot of that communication, now it's like, do a press up, do a drop deep, do I go to the left, do I go to the right? And I think that's one of the issues that they're having at the moment. And I'm sure Bradley Carnell will be looking at it and thinking to himself, hopefully this is just teething problems.
And you've got Kuipers and Zinkernagel coming at you this go
and
round.
Bamba.
Yeah, and Bamba, thanks for dropping by this week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that I find this game really, really intriguing because I look at Chicago, you look at them last season, and they scored 18 more goals away from home last season, and they also got five more points away from home last season. They are an exceptional counter-attacking team. I did them just a couple of weeks ago against Columbus, and their defensive setup was brilliant. I thought they looked really, really good defensively and always a threat on the counter attack. And the players you've just mentioned, you've got Zinkernagel, you've got Bamba, you've got Kuipers who can stretch the game, can link up, will press like there's no tomorrow. You've got Haile Selassie as well, who's got pace. So they're, the fullback's not afraid to get forward as well. So this is going to be a very, very stern test for Philadelphia Union. And like I say, they're coming up against, in my mind, one of the best away teams in MLS.
How pissed are Messi and friends going to be going to the Bronx?
Yeah, it's not what they wanted, that's for sure. I think, with Inter Miami, they've made a big thing about the CONCACAF Champions Cup. It's been a huge play for them, and I think we saw that with the previous week. Obviously, they drew in Nashville, and then they make 10 changes when they go to Nashville. Sorry, when they go to Charlotte and they draw 0-0. Then you look at the team that comes up against Nashville, that's the strongest team possible. So you can see where they were putting everything. And I fully understand that because I remember Jim Curtin when he was manager of Philadelphia Union, and when they were in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, I'd ask him the question, okay, how are you going to go about things sort of in the domestic side of things? And he'd be like, listen, whilst we're in this cup competition, this is the one that takes a lot of priority because of the simple fact we're in MLS every year. We don't know the next time we're going to be in the Champions Cup. So that made a lot of sense. And, from Miami's side of things, they rested a lot of players. They got a very good result against Charlotte, some good young players, some good young performances. And they probably were unfortunate not to win the game. But that was all set up for the game against Nashville. And then obviously it doesn't go according to plan. So they have to now be going to New York and thinking to themselves, we've now got to get going because, okay, I think they beat Orlando 4-2, but obviously they got beat by LAFC 3-0, drew 0-0 with Charlotte and beat DC 2-1. So it's sort of a situation where it's like, right, okay, it has to be now fully focused on MLS.
And you're going up against, Nico. And I just go by the back of the jersey because he's got like 19 different names. And I just sit there and it's like, Nico, fine. Maxi Morales, are we sure that he's 38 or 39? That he's
unbelievable.
Like 46 or 47 or something?
Benjamin Button.
True. Absolutely. So when you have that on that surface with this group, with NYC on their home surface, and you bring in Messi and friends with all the emotional elements that are coming into this one. I mean, I played pinball as a kid, and I played like Pong and everything. I mean, this for me is going to be, I'm anticipating it's just going to be like this. And legitimately, I mean, I don't know how many words you and Kanji are actually going to get in because of all of it that's going to be going on.
Might be a record low.
I mean, it's just literally, I just anticipate it's just going to be, bomb it this way, bomb it this way. It's going to be so back and forth. You guys might need to find, masseuses or, or hot tubs.
Whiplash.
Because of the whiplash, yeah.
If it's a back and forward game, I don't think it suits Miami.
No.
I think Miami are a team that wants to control it. I think what you do, I think everybody knows how good Alba and Busquets were. And it's one of those situations that, well, you know what, you realize how good a player is when they're no longer playing. No, we don't need them not to be playing to realize how good they are. There's a control element. And when you look at Inter Miami last season and their best performances is when they've controlled the tempo, they've controlled the speed of the game, everything about the game, they've controlled it. Busquets, one of the best controllers in world football. It was an absolute joy to cover him. It's been a joy to watch him over the years. Not just when he was at Inter Miami, but when he was at that unbelievable Barcelona team. Alba, one of the generational left backs. I don't think there's no arguing with that. One of the best around. Biggest thing is those two could close their eyes, have the ball at their feet, pass the ball, and they'd find Messi because they understood each other. What I think happens now with Messi, in my opinion, the greatest of all time, absolutely sensational player. And when you cover him, you run out of words that you can say about him. He's now not got those two players. So all of a sudden, who are going to be the next guys that are going to be finding and that are going to be looking for that pass. Now, with all the goodwill in the world, it's not going to be the new Busquets and it's not going to be the new Alba. So what I think happens with Messi now is that it becomes all about trust now, because he'll trust his teammates implicitly, but to have the trust that he had with Alba and Busquets, well, they've been playing together for what? It must be 8, 9, 10 seasons in total.
74 years together, yes.
Yeah. So they've had so much time together. So what happens is, in order for you to build that trust up, it takes time. But what I think we've seen with Messi now, as this season started, is him dropping deeper and deeper and deeper to get on the ball. Because Busquets, the passes that Busquets could make, 1% of players in the world could make them, because they have no right to actually occur. They have no right to happen. So the likelihood of you having someone as a like-for-like replacement in Inter Miami's team that can find that pass is probably slim to none. The ability of Alba, when he would get himself into a position when he was going towards the byline, that cutback, Alba to Messi back of the net, the amount of times we heard that, the amount of times we saw that. So it was sort of between the three of them, they just knew each other's games inside out. So now what you've got is new players coming into the team. There's younger players coming into the team. So there's a question that you can say, okay, there's more energy in the team. Well, you have more energy, but you have less control. And I think that is what then sort of leads to the problem. And it's a tough one for Mascherano to sort out, because ordinarily when a player leaves a football club, you go, right, okay, we've got to go and get his replacement. Good luck going and get Alba's replacement. Good luck and go and get Busquets' replacement. I remember the great teams that Manchester United had years ago. You used to watch this team, you used to play against this team. You're like, they are just phenomenal in every single position. And it's like, enjoy it while it's here, because when these players go, some of them may never get replaced. And some of them, it may take 10 years to get replaced. And I think that's the scenario that you have with Miami. So what you potentially have to do, for example, I look at it, and I'm not comparing the two teams whatsoever. I'm comparing the players.
Right.
I remember Rodri when he did his ACL. I think it was against Arsenal last season. He went out of Manchester City's team. Obviously, he was out for a considerable amount of time. Pep Guardiola looked at it and thought, right, okay, I'm going to bring this guy in to be his replacement. He probably knew from the start, but very, very soon he understood that for him to have someone come in and do Rodri's role, it's going to take two players. So therefore, if you've got two players, what happens then? You miss out a player in the attack. And that's what's happening now with Inter Miami. You have, usually it's like Busquets who's go, listen, I'll hold everything here. I don't need to be unbelievably quick because my position is ridiculous and I never give away the ball. My central midfield partner, go and enjoy yourself. That's not the case now. You have to have two sitting, because that's how good Busquets was. And I don't care who you bring into the club. So therefore, what you're doing, even though you're replacing a so-called defensive midfielder that's like a deep-lying quarterback, that's actually affecting the attack, because it's one less player that can go and attack, because you need two players to do the job that Busquets was doing. Likewise with Alba. Alba was your left winger and your left back. Well, now, hang on a second. What are you doing? Are you asking a fullback to go forward that's predominantly more defensive-minded? Okay, you brought Riggall in, but he's getting up to speed. And then the winger previously, traditionally, you would drift into the number 10 position. If you're not getting the width from the left back, well, have a guess what, left winger? You're going to have to give the width. What does that do? That gives you one less player in field. So it's sort of this knock-on effect. And I think people need to, not people, but it's like it needs a lot of understanding with that it is very, very difficult to replace these players, because it's not one player that can do it. And it really upsets the rhythm of the team.
No doubt. Philly, Chicago, NYC, Miami. So that's not too bad travel. At least you don't have to.
No, not at all.
You don't have to worry about the airports and 3.5 hours and dealing with what's left of TSA at the moment, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, I know.
My friend, you and I could chop it up forever. I mean, legitimately, we could have a separate Premier League discussion. We could just go into the weeds and talk about all these things. I cannot thank you enough, because I know how hyper busy you are to be able to drop in here on a Friday and run the kamikaze sprints that we always do here. You know that the door is open. You know, you can come in anytime you want.
It's always a pleasure.
Whatever you want to come in and discuss, and we'll break it all down. And just be safe, my friend. Have two great calls. Don't ever compliment Kanji on anything.
Never.
And we will catch up with you on the flip side and keep comparing notes. Great to see you, my friend.
Brilliant. Thanks, John. Take care, mate.
All right, there goes Danny Higginbotham, everybody. So we do the hot tag. Danny Higginbotham out. Dave Johnson in. We bring in Dave. Dave, I promise that I will not try to steer this toward Adams Stadium discussions this time. That was brilliant.
That's right. The good old Atlanta ruckus. So anyway,
But no,
those were the days. And I'm working with Bruce Murray. He's my broadcast partner on DC United, who was a part of the Atlanta ruckus. So
yes,
you know.
yes. But I promise we will not talk about Adams Stadium and the concrete that has not changed in 20 years. And
Well, it also is an example of, and I talk about this all the time, and you know, it really that's not that long ago. It's you know that, and yet look where we are. I mean, we were struggling to have 7 or 9 teams, and now we're talking about, you know, leagues and divisions and maybe promotion, relegation, and etc. So
crazy, man.
we've made a lot of progress. I'm not happy about VAR, but that's another story.
Oh, well, okay. All right. So I do want to discuss DC United, but we'll discuss those 3 initials that, because I know that you've been pretty vocal about VAR. What is it about VAR that that chaps you at the moment?
Well, it's specifically offside. It's specifically the offside law. And I've been in English stadiums where they're afraid to celebrate a goal. That shouldn't be. The goal is the moment. And for 100+ years, we lived with the linesman's flag being up or down. I don't remember pre-VAR this many hand-wringings and controversies about offside. Were there offside calls that they looked at a review and said, "Oh, you know, he raised his flag and he shouldn't have"? Yes, but it's swung the other way, where we're finding toenails and portions of a body. You know, there's even images where you look at them and you're saying, how are they saying that's offside? And they draw a line. My point is, when they switched after the terrible World Cup, when I say terrible World Cup in 1990, it was not terrible because we qualified finally, but it was a dour World Cup. The back pass was taking the goalkeeper was killing the game, and the game had become too defensive. So there was a change. It was the first change in 75 years to the offside law to even is on, as most people should know, or if you don't know, it didn't always be even is on. You had to have a full defender in front of you. So this VAR is killing the spirit of even is on. In other words, even is on. You in real time, you don't make runs, and there's no way you can time. Oh, I'm 3 inches offside. Most of your body is still onside. That to me is even is on. If you can't see it with the naked eye, it's not. Or VAR is finding things that you can't see in real time. The game is played in real time. The point of the offside law was to prevent poaching and, you know, just hanging around the goal. This is killing the spirit. As somebody responded saying, you know, you can no longer. You know, you can think you made the perfect run and then find out, you know, your shoelaces are offside. And I think about, it's killed some amazing moments. Coventry City against Manchester United a couple years ago in the FA Cup final.
Oh, yeah.
Thought they had a comeback.
Yeah.
And they made a joke about, oh, if he only had a haircut, he wouldn't have been offside.
Yeah.
But that's not funny when you think about it.
I know.
We shouldn't be I mean, I'm not criticizing for laughing. It is funny, but it's funny as in, you got to be kidding me funny.
Yeah.
Is this what we're you know, Coventry City about to pull off the greatest comeback in FA Cup history, and we're talking about the fact they found his hair offside?
Yeah.
So that's my specific. That's why I advocate for the Wenger law, which is going to be tried in Canada, where if any part of your body is on,
yes,
you're on. Now, you know, there's lots of people screaming how stupid Wenger is, and I think it's personal because he's not stupid. He's very successful. But people say, well, you know, now defenses will just sit back. Well, what about there was not social media in 1990 when they changed it after the World Cup? You know, were they thinking the same thing? Wow, we're going to make it even as on? Will defenses just sit back and kill? I don't think that's, you know, an argument that you can certainly prove, because people have not looked so far. The Wenger rule is it's been tried, but it's taken 6 years to get to the point where you try in a pro league. Is it's been tried in youth leagues, and yeah, I'm nuts enough to do research on this. It's been successful. it's increased the goal scoring, but it is not increased to like, wow, now the games are 10-9.
Right.
It's marginal increases. So it's not going to dramatically alter the game that we love and appreciate on the defensive side. But again, I can point to them: Burnley, Crystal Palace. There's just two, and it's happening all over the world. And I'll talk to friends in Spain. You know, they talk about the joy being taken out of the game because they're celebrating. Think about, again, Nottingham Forest, the most recent. I mean, he's maybe a heel offside might cost them relegation.
Mm-hmm. To your point, I have two thoughts. One, I think that I would posit that we all have issues more with the laws of the game than we would with VAR. So I don't necessarily think that. I think that if the laws of the game, as you posit, if we go with the Wenger law or the Wenger corollary, then I think that I would guess by default we would have less of an issue with VAR. It's the laws of the game that are being applied to VAR.
Well,
where we're the most frustrated.
Right. Yes. And all I'm saying is that, okay, this is crazy. All I ever wanted was goal line technology.
Yeah.
Because the goal is so important. And we were always, we talked about the soccer and football being so slow to adapt to technology or change or whatever you want to call it. Then all of a sudden this gets thrown on us. And I'm thinking, how did this happen? Where we go from no technology to, you know, soccer is CSI forensic investigation, and you're having these. So I think the problem with the other problem with VAR, I don't think it's being implemented the way it was sold. We were thinking about, oh, kumbaya, it's going to correct clear and obvious errors. Then all of a sudden, clear and obvious, you're not allowed to say, or they're not using it. And the fact that we're talking about 5-minute reviews and et cetera.
Yep.
Well, then that can't be clear and obvious.
No.
So basically, how we were sold VAR is not happening. It's not being delivered.
And I think that usually 2 points. I think that we have entirely too much relitigating from upstairs instead of looking at
Correct.
the play itself. I think that you have too many folks upstairs who are trying to relitigate the play, which is not their job in the first place.
It's not clear and obvious. And now, you know, it goes back to the phrase about too many cooks in the kitchen. And, you know, this was supposed to, I thought, oh, well, you know, this will reduce referee controversy.
Mm-mm.
No, all we ever do is talk about, and there's people writing columns now. So it's created an industry. He's a great writer, Dale Johnson, BBC. He's got a VAR review every month. Okay, I don't remember every Monday having to review 14 calls in this league or that league or whatever. So just logically, you say, we go from the referee being in charge to now we put 2 or 3 more up there, and so life is subjective. I could tell you that the scarf behind you is purple, and you could say no, it's what. So now we're putting more opinions in it.
Right.
So now we're turning calls into sessions of Parliament or Congress instead of make a decision. And you know what? We did live with it. And as somebody also said, somehow the game survived, even though there was the hand of God. Yes, that was clear and obvious. But you know what? We lived with it. Mm-hmm. But now it is taking the joy out of the game, I believe. And this is maybe not for the viewer who's at home, who's got a beverage and can, you know, it links it and he can look at the video and it becomes a video game. But when you're in the ground, the stands, whatever you want to call it, it does take the joy. You celebrate. You think, and then there's this long delay.
Yeah.
And it's and there's anxiety. And anyway.
Yeah, no, and there is a great deal of agita. And I've always thought that the more that somebody upstairs is looking at something, the longer they are, the more they're trying to find something, which once again goes back into relitigating. And that's that's not in your job description. Your CV does not do that. I've always thought 2 minutes, maybe 2.5, and then you're looking for something. I'm like, okay, if it's not there, then yeah.
Well, again, just look at Nottingham Forest's goal.
Mhm.
There's no way you instantly see that as, oh, I can see his heels offside.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have eyes like a German Shepherd to pick that out. So that's where, on the offside issue, if we're not going to change the offside law, that's not clear and obvious. Nobody would look at that, and even if they find the picture and they say, "Look, his back heel is offside," I don't think anybody would say, "Well, he was getting an advantage." He had no idea his back heel was offside. Thinks he's even with the defender.
Yeah.
To me, it's nuts.
Yes. I would stipulate to that, sir. Yes. Dave Johnson, as always, great to catch up with him about anything that's on his mind when he comes in and talks about stuff. We do have a game to discuss here, DC and Atlanta coming up this weekend. And I wanted to bring you in to discuss, other than, all the stuff that's always on our minds when we get together, about this group of DC that is coming into the matchup this weekend. And I wanted to start with the offseason transactions that were brought in, and one of them being a Brookwood Bronco, a suburban Atlanta goalkeeper who is doing pretty well and is a big upgrade from what happened last year. What has it been like for you to see Sean Johnson between the sticks here in 26, considering what was going on in 25 defensively?
Well, I always felt, as it's not just the goalkeeper; it's
Right.
it's the whole team. If it's, but look, Sean Johnson he makes positional saves as we talk about it because he's so smart. And I'm not saying that previous goalkeepers weren't smart. I'm just saying his breadth of experience and he brings to each match, and he does make that. You ask a goalkeeper to make one game-saving save to keep you in the match, and he does that. So you just can't replace the experience that he brings. And this is no knock on anybody else that played for DC United prior. He's got a great level of experience, and it shows. And so in part why DC United has been stingy this year on defense is obviously having him as an anchor and a leader back there, but just I think the way Renee Weiler the new head coach, has certainly gotten through. And I talked to Matty Pelto, the defensive midfielder, yesterday about the terms of structure and everyone understanding what they need to do. It clearly is playing out. And he, again, emphasized it's not a knock on any previous coach. Why does certain coaches' message get through and not? That's we don't know that. It goes around the world that. But clearly the message is getting through because DC United, cannot exist or I don't think be a playoff team if it's just getting one goal a game, and they know that. But that we're not seeing they were a team that would compete so hard and then all of a sudden give up that counterattack goal. So they have been a tough team to play against, and I think even Inter Miami, who scored 2 goals against them, and it was would say that that was still a tough result to get 2-1 because the second half of that game, DC United did not give them much after conceding 2 goals in the first half. So that's their foundation of defensive strength is helped them to give a foundation to go forward and hopefully compete for a playoff spot, because that's this team has not been in the postseason since 2019, and in Major League Soccer, that's not an acceptable rate when you have so many pathways to get into the postseason.
When you look at the other changes, and I want to say it was like 13 out and 14 in. I mean, there was basically half of the roster turned over. And there was a concerted effort, when you want to bring in a Sean Nealis to help you out at the back. You want to bring in a Sean Johnson to help you out between the sticks. You bring in a Ty Barabo from Philly, which to me was still a head scratcher from a Philly perspective, but okay. And he's now up top. What is when you look at how things are with, say, Barabo and Pirani up top, how are things offensively different looking in 26 than they were for you last season?
Well, I mean, obviously the numbers are not great yet, but Barabo, first of all, is just a flat-out goal scorer. And he's scored goals so far. He has scored goals in his career, and he's going to continue because he just again, attacking and why they're so good and why they're such a premium is it is a game of fine margins. So then you need that guy that he'll get that moment, and he scores. Not every player does that. That's why they're so valuable. And when teams are struggling to score, what do they always talk about? That final third. We do this, we do that, we do everything well. Oh, but that final third. He's a lethal finisher in the final third. Pirani is again, he's still a young player, and I think we're just scratching the surface with him, or I certainly think DC United fans are hoping that. Between him and I mean, Jackson Hopkins continues to be a bright light. You feel like the potential is there to be more dangerous on offense. It hasn't played out yet in terms that you can just look at the numbers. And that's why Saturday, quite frankly, will be, interesting, because the focus is on that. But I think the primary focus was shoring up defensively, and that's certainly helped, and that's helped them. They've not been easy, both wins, but they got 2 wins out of 4 matches. And I know it's only March or whatever it is, but the other part of fine margins is you don't want to get to October and say, I wish I had that 3 points versus 1 point.
For someone who is going to be watching this match and watching DC for the first time, in addition to all of the shiny objects that we've been talking about leading into this matchup and what you've seen so far in 26, is there someone on that second level, someone that isn't really a shiny object, that might be like a foot soldier or however you want to characterize it, that if this individual is doing what he's supposed to be doing, if he's doing X, then what Rene Weiler wants to have done against Atlanta United is being successful, who would that player or players be for folks to kind of focus on?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know if he's again. I think Jackson Hopkins one day is going to end up in Europe, and he's a young player, and he'll be exciting to watch. And in terms of their ability to ignite on offense, and what the work he does in his midfield role, it will be so important. But why you get excited? I get excited about. I see a defensive midfield partnership in Brandon Cervania and Matty Peltola, that there's a real synergy there, and they can. Peltola, of course, scored against Chicago, so they can get involved in the attack. And Keisuke Kurakawa, who the left back who we acquired from Gamba Osaka in Japan, and obviously. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Japanese soccer, as much as I'm a nut about watching every league around the world. I didn't know anything about him, and he's coming up that left flank. He is special to me. So I think for DC United, I don't think the defense is a question, and their structure and how they're clearly communicating much better. It is Kurakawa finding joy in that left flank. What is Jackson Hopkins doing in that midfield? Because as I said, the goal for DC United is not to live on 1-0 results.
Yeah. Last week, for folks that may not know, Peltola defensively, 9 defensive contributions, 1-2 tackles, had 3 picks, 2 clears, 7 recoveries, was 4 of 6 on his ground duels. That's just the defensive numbers for Peltola. Obviously, getting the goal on the board on the one shot, the total XGOT or whatever on that math is about a 0.4. And when you look at him being engaged in play, 37 touches, he actually did have total progression. It was on the positive side of things moving forward. You mentioned Kurakawa. He, let's see, defensively, Kurakawa last week, as I'm sitting here just trying to brush through numbers really quickly, 7 contributions defensively for Kurakawa, 6 recoveries and 6 interceptions for Kurakawa last week, and he won a couple of duels as well. So, those 2 specifically, diving into the play, making sure that things aren't happening that everybody can't take care of beside them, as well as a part of this. So, I mean, that's pretty heavy numbers coming from 2 guys specifically.
I mean, it's my head is hurting. There's so many analytics and stats out there. I actually saw one that I brought up with Renee Weiler, and of course, he says, yeah, stats drive me nuts, but he says if it proves my point, that it doesn't drive him nuts. But there's some stat that it's improved dramatically. DC United, fewest passes for the opposition before DC United wins possession back, and I forget what the name of the stat is. It's 4 letters, P something something.
Oh, like the progressive doohickey, is that one?
Something anyway. I mean, the concept behind the stat I understand. In other words, fewest passes before you win possession back.
Got it.
And that's improved. So what that's saying is, DC United is better at not allowing teams to have joy against them. There's a stat. You can look it up. AI told me about that. I never would have found that without AI.
Yes.
AI might be lying.
Yeah, really? I mean, it's like, I'm going to tell you something and you're going to sit there and unless you do your own research. Okay. It is always great, my friend, to have you come in and talk about anything and everything going on, because I know that you and I could talk about what's going on in England. We could talk about, lower championships and laws of the game and everything. You are tied to the Wizards this weekend, correct?
Correct. Yes. So Brendan Hartlove will be filling in for me. I'll unfortunately miss the game, but the basketball has to support my soccer habits. So I will be tied with the Washington Wizards this weekend and next couple weeks. But Wizards have great things ahead, just not this season. So sooner than later, I'll be full time on the soccer.
Okay. What are the broadcast plans for Brendan and Bruce?
They will be on the iHeartRadio app, and that's how you could find that. And of course, Mike Conti and the wonderful folks down in Atlanta just are terrific. And I'm such a fan of. I think it's Jason Longshore is with him on the broadcast, and they do such a wonderful job. And I hope, and again, Atlanta, as we go back to Adams Stadium, again, everybody looks at all these advanced stats. I still look at attendance numbers, and I'm still rooting for us to continue our strength as a soccer nation, because I never thought that would be possible. So Atlanta has been a great story, and I want it to continue to be a great story.
Yep.
Attendance wise, not this weekend, but attendance wise.
For you, right?
I want everybody to come out and have a good time, good crowd, good game. But DC United wins. But
there you go. Yeah, Jason is a part of our family here at SDH, and he's doing like real work in the morning. So that's why I get to hang out with you. Do not be a stranger, my friend. It's always great to see you.
Always.
And
if you need somebody to go nuts for about an hour and a half on video and offside, I'm your guy, because it is absolutely driving me crazy. Gordon Bradley, who helped, and I probably bore you with Gordon Bradley stories before, but helped bring Pele to this country. The whole reason we're having this conversation, used to tell me that a good referee game when you don't notice them, you don't talk.
Yeah.
All we do now.
Yeah.
Now, and you know what? Shout out to MLS. For some reason, it doesn't seem to be as big a controversy in MLS, or it isn't. I don't think, versus the Premier League, La Liga. So I think MLS, in many ways, has been better than the rest of the world.
And that's the cool part about all of this. But yes, anytime that you want to come in and yell for an hour and a half about VAR and things,
yes.
You know where the garage door opener is, my friend. You know where the key is. There you go. And just have great calls this week, and we'll see you soon, my friend.
Sounds good. Thank you.
There goes Dave Johnson. He's DC through and through. DC United when he's not doing Wizard stuff. And it's always great to catch up with him and get opposition research when it comes to DC taking on Atlanta United. Now, we had a request before the show started this morning because rosters are out. England's roster came out. There were some surprises, if the words would come out of my mouth at this point. This is where we catch up with our friend Bart Keeler, the Soccer for US POD. And Bart, sir, thank you for your patience and your patronage. What's on your mind this morning?
Well, John, if you don't know, we've got a USMNT doubleheader coming up starting next weekend. So let's talk about the guys who are coming into town to play for the Stars and Stripes.
So I have heard, and apparently Chuck Norris has passed at the age of 86.
I just saw that. Yeah.
So Chuck Norris is going to have some issues to deal with Chuck Norris now.
Oh man, yeah.
I know. All right. So what specifically stuck out for you when it came to the roster and its assemblage, sir?
Well, I think what sticks out is a couple of players who aren't here because of injury, and the players that were called in to backfill that role. Specifically, let's start with Tyler Adams, who is obviously recovering from injury, I think is the best way to put it,
Yes.
regarding his situation at Bournemouth. Did not travel with the team last week. They do not seem concerned. But to start with him, if he is taking the time to be healthy now, so that he's 100% healthy come June and July, we're fine with that, right? I think you can take that trade-off for this. We know that Tyler Adams is going to be a part of this team if he's healthy. That said, it opens up now a true audition, I think, for a few guys in that midfield. There are, I think, without Tyler Adams, there are 27 players on this roster. There are about 5 of them that are kind of filling that role this roster, and to be frank, they're redundant. So I do think that we will have some, as they call it over across the pond in the other English-speaking country, redundancies when we have to get into squad making. So you're looking at Sebastian Berhalter, Johnny Cardoso, Aiden Morris, Christian Roldan, and Tanner Tessman, all kind of filling that defensive-ish midfielder role. Probably some of them trying out to see who will play next to Tyler Adams, some of them trying out to see who are backups to those positions. But that'll be something, John, for these next 2 games that I think will be an actual position battle. Because to be frank, we haven't seen anyone play really well for the U.S. in that role outside of Tyler Adams. We all know that Johnny Cardoso had a blunder of the century the last time he showed up against Turkey. I think it's safe to say that while, yes, Christian Roldan is going to be gassed up by every MLS junkie, he doesn't have a history of being super productive for the USMNT. And the one or two characteristics he does bring are veteran leadership and locker room vibes. And for me, that's not enough, especially when you're talking about a team that has like a full 11 of guys who have played in a World Cup at this point in time. I don't think we need veteran leadership from a guy who's the 26th player on the squad. That's just me. Then you're looking at guys who I think actually do have a shot, and that's Tessman, Cardoso, and I think Berhalter is playing himself into that position in MLS this season. Also Aiden Morris. So that defensive midfield position is the one to watch.
What does your gut tell you by the time that we're done?
I think if you're asking me who's starting a World Cup match, it's probably Tessman alongside Adams. That's if we stay with this kind of 3-ish back formation. I know it's a flat back 4 that kind of shifts, but I think when you look at it, the formation has shifted a little bit to be 2 holding midfielders, 2 withdrawn wingers, 2 outside midfielders. It's a 3-4-3 essentially is what we've kind of morphed to. So if you only have those 2 holding midfielders, I think it'll be Tessman next to Adams, which means
yes,
you probably do need maybe 5 guys there, but you're also looking at, possibly on this roster, Gio Reyna and Malik Tillman, as well as Weston McKennie, who are listed as midfielders. Well, they're advanced attacking players. So depending if you're going with the double pivot in the midfield, which we kind of have seen the whole time, that's great. But if you're playing a diamond midfield or triangle midfield, there we go.
Yeah.
Shapes. Then it does throw off a little bit of the necessity of who's playing what, because do you need a guy who is a little bit more of a ball progressor, which is where someone like maybe Berhalter or Roldan come into a little bit more at play.
Okay. In addition to that, and obviously we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth on Monday as we get closer because we'll have the weekend to think about it. Thomas Tuchel's named his 35 players for the international break. 3 uncapped players are a part of this, including Jude Bellingham, who hasn't played since February 1st because of a hamstring injury. And it's Tommy Tuchel for School's last shot. Harry Maguire, one of 2 Manchester United players brought up. Dominic Calvert-Lewin recalled for the first time since 2021. Lewis Hall included from Newcastle. No place for Luke Shaw. No place for Trent Alexander-Arnold. No place for Nick Pope. So your keepers, Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford, Aaron Ramsdale, Jason Steele, which was a surprise. And a lot of folks from Coventry City were mad that their keeper was not picked up, especially Frank Lampard. James Trafford was your other keeper. Defenders, Byrne, Gahey, Hall, Esri Konsa, Livramento, Maguire, O'Reilly, Kwanzaa, Jed Spence, John Stones, and Tamori. Midfielders, Elliot Anderson, Jude Bellingham, Garner, Henderson, Kobe Mainu, Declan Rice, Morgan Rogers, Adam Wharton. Forwards, Jared Bowen, Calvert-Lewin, Eze, Foden, Gordon, Kane, Madueke, Palmer, Rashford, Saka, and Solanke. So that is the squad in full. Everybody was asking why Thomas Tuchel's taking 35, and he says it's actually 19 outfield players and 4 keepers from Tuesday to Saturday, and then it's 22 outfield players and 3 or 4 for the second match. So he says, so nobody needs to sit on the tribune in none of the matches. And so everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when you also look at the Belgium and Portugal rosters that dropped earlier today as well, I think a lot of these European teams are taking advantage of the fact that there aren't restrictions.
Oh, somebody tried to call him. I think somebody tried to call Bart. Yeah, somebody tried to call Bart while we used in the middle of a rant. And so, see, this is what happens sometimes when you're sitting there and you're going, I'm in the middle of a rant and then somebody tries to call me, basically. And somebody still tried to call Bart. And he's frozen. All right, so hang on. So there he goes. Round number 3. Let's see if we can go 3 for 3 with Bart. And we'll see what happens here. Did they stop calling you?
I hope so. I don't need to talk to them.
Other rosters, sir.
Yeah, I think this is interesting that we're seeing some of the European teams taking more players now that we kind of have figured out, well, yeah, you need 23 on the matchday squad. Who cares how many are traveling with you? Obviously, a lot of these teams are looking at final decisions for the World Cup, right? I think that's
Bart's in that cement tomb again. Bart is in that cement tomb. I don't know what's going on. People just like to either text Bart or call Bart at the most inopportune times. So, we'll see. All right. So he tried it. He tried coming and bursting through the cement tomb like the Kool-Aid man. Bart is kind of like the soccer Kool-Aid man. He's got to come bursting through the cement wall. We got to see how this works. And yes, take 4, hit it.
they're making final World Cup decisions, right? That's what I think we're seeing here. And Tuchel has, I don't want to say an embarrassment of riches, but you're looking at these goalkeepers. I'm just going to be real honest. I don't think that he needs to. There's a lot of tryouts for a third goalkeeper on the England roster, right? If you're asking me, it's probably Henderson and Pickford, and then who's after that?
Yes.
Glad to see Ramsdale getting a shout again, but that's in replacement of Nick Pope, who probably would be number 3, and I think that is why you're seeing that many goalkeepers brought in. But same with Portugal and Belgium, bringing more than 23 or even 26. These are tryouts, and I think that's the exciting part of why we have.
It's a Friday. It is definitely a Friday. We're trying here. So this will be like the last, it's like 11 o'clock. People want to talk to Bart, and they got meetings and stuff. First day of spring, dollar small soft serve at Carvel in Kennesaw. Okay. All right. So we'll wait for Bart to put a coda on, and we're going to catch up on all the news and get you ready for the weekend. We're going to hear from Scott Wells at Asheville City after his win over Greenville Triumph in USL League One. And we caught up with him, with his family, on the road, on vacation after the win. So we'll catch up with Scott Wells coming up here in just a little bit and find out what it's like for him after his cup set and find out what's going on. Bart might be just racing outside so he could do it in the sun. I don't know. Maybe he'll be doing the rest of this poolside for like 35 seconds. So I have that one more thing to talk to Bart about. And then we'll get Bart ready for Monday. And then we'll carry it from there. So, so I don't want to necessarily sit there and go into another topic but We'll see what's going on. Okay, quick reminder. So Bart just texted. He says, I'm not even sure. Restream hates him across all platforms. I don't know. It hates me too. So I don't know. So it's let's see. Yeah. So if Bart comes back in, tell you what, here's what we'll do. We'll go through all the news, and if Bart comes back in, we'll wrap up Bart, and then we'll keep going news. With our last interview with Scott Wells, that'll put a bow on the week, and we'll see what happens. And so that's what we'll that's how we'll handle this. Sorry, I'm going back and forth with Bart right now. So okay. All right. So if Bart can come back in, we'll talk about rosters, and then he'll come back on Monday to break everything down there. Okay. So CONCACAF yesterday, we kind of got into it a little bit with what happened and the historic collapse. I don't know if it was historic unless you're adding to the fact that you gave up 11 goals in a week. But our friend Tyler Terrence was on the English language call of Tigres and FC Cincinnati yesterday. Go back into the timeline and go listen to his calls and go find the second half of the game itself. Like YouTube, if Fox Sports and Big FOX Soccer has put the highlights or that compilation on YouTube, go back and watch it. I was going back and forth with Tyler after the match was over. He said it was the most fun match he'd ever done. Understandably so. So this was what happened. You get 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. And it's like, okay, here they come. It's 3-2 at that point. Then you get a third goal at 3-3. Then you end up getting a goal from Cincinnati, or actually you get a goal to make it 4-3. Tigres gets the lead. FC Cincinnati scores, and they have with the away goal advantage at that point. So then they would advance. Once again, this is where you pick up your Ticonderoga number 2 pencil. You sit there and you wave it in the air. Then this happened at the death. Fox Soccer and CONCACAF. Thank you.
Correa drives it across. Flores. Gignac lays it out for Gordian. Tigres have won it! In the 8th minute of stoppage time!
When you get a building turned upside down like that, after those first 2 goals that made it 3-2 in the aggregate, and the thing just tilts, and it is just wave after wave, and all of that noise is coming at you, and you're still trying to navigate it. That's why I've been asking this morning about the response of Cincinnati in this particular weekend of Major League Soccer. They're taking on CF Montreal at home. Probably rotating a bit. Probably should have Laurel Failer on next week to talk about things. But this is going to be interesting. It's one of the leadoff games on Sunday. So you've got Kanji and Danny at the 106 by 68 doing NYC and Messi and Friends. The other game, Cincinnati CF Montreal. Might want to have both of them up. So we'll keep an eye on that one, and we'll see what happens there. How does Cincinnati respond? How do Messi and Friends respond? Those are the larger questions for me coming into this weekend. So now with everything all squared away, at least in this round of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, bracket is as follows. Upper left, Toluca and LAG. LAG took care of Mount Pleasant 3-0 both legs, 6-0 final. Low left, Cruz Azul and LAFC. So you could have El Tráfico in a semifinal. Of course, you could also have Liga MX in a semifinal too. But Toluca, LAG, Cruz Azul, LAFC. Tigres and Seattle is low right. Nashville SC and Club America is upper right. Those are your final 8 in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. By the way, in the women's national team competitions, the United States is putting up some serious numbers. And all they need is, I believe, a win or a draw in the group stage to find out what their next stop is when it comes to anything and everything CONCACAF. Yeah, Bart. Oh, he's vent. Oh, is Bart venting on the 280 character app about darned restream, among other things? So let me see if Bart is venting here. So hang on. So soccer for USPOD. So soccer for USPOD. I have to go here, and so yes. Why am I in a constant battle with Restream? Yes. Okay. So he is venting. Okay. So not a shock. All right. So that's where we are with CONCACAF, and once again the U.S. women's national teams. And an email was sent on the Facebook. Okay. So okay, and let me go and find U.S. soccer quickly after what happened yesterday. Let me see if I can figure out where it went. Now, was it in this section or this section? Because I wanted to get the timeline right and let you know about what's going on with the competitions. Okay, so media availabilities and Open Cup. We'll get to Open Cup here in a second. So the USYNT, they're taking care of business. 19 in the first round and the first match of the group stage, and they're in control of their own destiny to try and qualify for World Cups because 19s turned into 20s, which go to World Cups. So there's that. Now, Open Cup yesterday, and it was a continuation of all of the chaos that we have seen in the past, and even more so. So you end up with one Open Cup matchup, Pittsburgh and Steel City. That one has been rescheduled for the 25th at Highmark. Yesterday, you had your share of cup sets on the board, and one of them, Tennessee Tempo and Chattanooga Red Wolves. The Red Wolves arrived the match started 75 minutes late in Murfreesboro, Tennessee because of bus issues with the Red Wolves. Tennessee Tempo won it 1-0. Quadjo Poku, yes, that Quadjo Poku with Dominic Oduro in the midfield got the result in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So Red Wolves, USL League One kind of took it in the chin in this round. Laredo Heat loses to El Paso in Laredo. Final there was 2-0. Westchester put 2 on New York Renegades. That's all they needed. But did you see the video of the Renegade that was warming up in a Snuggie? Yes, that was a thing. Lexington put 9 on Flower City Union. Charlotte Independence knocked off Rastosi 4-1. Flint City, another upset of a USL League One side, 2-0 at home against Forward Madison to plus 145. Virginia Dream in another upset of an MLS Pro side, Virginia Dream NPSL UPSL. They got the upset 2-0. It was a 2-1 Virginia Dream. I think they were down 1-0. Come back to win by the score of 2-1 at a plus 350. So USL League One took it on the chin a lot. One of those wins went to Asheville City as they knocked off Greenville Triumph day 1, 3-1, and they were an underdog at a plus 210. We actually caught up with head coach Scott Wells while he was having lunch with his family, and he actually was able to escape. And you'll see him outside at a picnic table breaking down everything that happened in his first round win over Greenville Triumph. Here was us catching up with Scott Wells as he came out of a car having lunch, having won in the opening round of Open Cup. See you on the other side in about 4 minutes. So where are you right
now? In Asheville still, yeah, with the family. We'll be heading back to Liberty here soon, just grabbing some food and trying to take a minute to breathe.
Perfect. Yep. Awesome.
So have you had to breathe after what happened last night?
Yeah, I mean, I said last night, that was the one kind of last goal that I wanted to accomplish. We've broke records every summer, which has been amazing, but to do that for the club was unbelievable. And the ending, the way it finished, and the fans celebrating was amazing.
How many practices did you guys have before you took the field?
How many what, sorry?
Practices did you have?
3.
3.
Yeah. Yeah. you know, these guys all have something in common, though. You know, like they're coming together and they're in the hotel, or they probably know each other through somebody through the college game, and they've been able to kind of share their experiences with each other, which most of that would probably be, rejections, getting told no, not getting contracts. And so it was easy to bring them together. I think after the second day, it was like a summer vibe, as if they'd been together all summer playing in the USL too. So, we had just a great group of guys, and they connected really well. And obviously, I think that showed last night for sure.
How much studying did you do on Greenville going into this one?
Yeah, we were able to do. Obviously, that's one of the great things for us is we were able to watch them in preseason. Obviously, watch their game against Chattanooga, so we had a pretty good idea of what they were going to do. Of course, they rested some guys, and some guys were out injured. But yeah, when we started the game, we were pretty happy with our scout, and we kind of felt like we knew what subs they were going to use as well. So yeah, so we were well prepared, and that was a testament to my staff, my assistant Carl Reynolds, who set that up really well.
What'd you tell them at halftime? You'd survived the first 45 minutes with this group that looked like they'd been with it forever. But what'd you tell them at halftime?
Yeah, I think we were really pleased at halftime. We felt like we'd made it a bit of a chaotic game, and made it very transitional. But we wanted to do that. We wanted to not allow them kind of too much time to breathe and get on the ball. And I think, even though most of the time coaches don't like transitional play and they want to try and, keep possession for a little longer of a period, we were quite happy that it was chaotic, because I think at that time, we could see that either way we were going to get chances. So we just continued to tell them to continue to keep doing what they were doing. They were pressing really, really well. Our striker, Evan Southern, had been able to read the press and study out the way we wanted him to play out of possession very, very well. So he led that line for us, and we were able to obtain the ball back in high areas. And, when you've got players like Simon Coulson that are picking up the ball in those areas, and of course Ben Asani, we're definitely going to get chances, and we did. It's disappointing to concede the first goal. I think the referee is a little quick to the whistle, but we obviously responded really, really well in the second half.
Yeah, then take me through what you saw with 10 to go, where you get the eventual game winner, but you get the lead with 10 to go, and what was going through your head at that point?
Yeah, so I think even more so than last season in the Open Cup, we knew we had some really good injections off the bench. So we were always planning on bringing in 2 or 3 guys off the bench that would be able to maintain the level. And so the level didn't drop. And then obviously, Josh Baker came on and kind of stabilized things for us really, really well. Max Keenan did really, really good job of coming on. And then obviously Ashton Bilo did a great job of being able to get the winner on that second goal. So yeah, we were just quite lucky really that when we got to those last 10 minutes, we knew what we were going to do prior to the game, and it worked.
What does this mean for Ashland, do you think?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, last year, obviously, as you can imagine, was the first game back after the hurricane. And I just love seeing the fans at the end of the game, like bringing this level of football to the community. And the club have been going for 10 years now, and they've done a fantastic job. But to be able to win a game like that against a pro team, what it does for the community. We went to Old London Road, our supporters bar, after the game, and everyone was in there. And it's amazing to see, so many people just kind of, on a Wednesday night after work, going to watch a game like that, and being able to say your town's beat a pro team and are in the second round of the Open Cup. It means a lot to a lot of people here, and they do a lot to support us. So yeah, I can't tell you how much it means to the city.
Okay. Scott Wells, the head coach at Asheville City, after their win against Greenville Triumph in USL League One in the opening week of this round of Open Cup. Hang on just a second. Let me see when we know when the draw is going to happen for. That's going to happen, obviously, after the 25th. And then once that match is done, we'll find out the second round and when all of that's going to come together. So keep an eye out on all of your social medias for figuring out matchups in round number two for U.S. Open Cup. Now, Ricky has posted, as the intrepid producer that he is, that the USMNT is going to use the Atlanta United training facilities ahead of the international break matches, which makes sense. I mean, to a certain degree. You're up in Marietta, you're kind of close by, as the finishing touches are going to be put on the Arthur M. Blank National Training Center in the Southern Crescent. So USM&T is going to utilize the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training facility to train ahead of the international break matches at Atlanta Stadium, otherwise known as Mercedes-Benz to you and me. So very cool. Mauricio Pochettino comes in. He gets to rib Brad Gazan. And so that's what you're hunting for with that. And good stuff there, obviously, with the 2 matches. And we'll catch up with Bart if Restream lets him do anything on Monday and find out more about it. Okay. The stuff to where to watch, how to watch it, and all that kind of stuff brought to us by our friends at Fanatis. fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps them, helps us, and helps you by adding more matches to everything you're already watching with Fanatis. You get all the BNs, which means you get Africa, everything on the continent. You get AFCON, CAF, Champions League, all of those. French League, Turkish League, Polish League, CATV. You get Copa Argentina from TAC. You get a lot of the A and B divisions in South America, Paraguay, Uruguay, Bolivia, I believe. You get the LPF out of Argentina. You get second division down there. There's plenty that plays with that. And so you end up with TVV if you want to add a Venezuelan television, but if you have the Spanish-speaking package on a certain cable system, it's already there. So a lot to do, and you get CDO and Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. All that's on Fanatis. Now, what to watch today? Plenty. BNB and Espanol, you have the doubleheader, the Polish League and the French League at 1 and 3:45. CBS Sports Network English Championship, Preston North End and Stoke is at 4. ESPN Deportes, Villarreal Real Sociedad is at 4. Fox Deportes doubleheader, Serie A, 1:30 and 3:45. A-League, very late tonight on the Plus. Bundesliga this afternoon. Bundesliga B this afternoon. Drei Bundesliga this afternoon. La Liga, 4 o'clock. Fox O&E, doubleheader Serie A. Paramount Plus, Championship, Serie A, Scottish Championship at 3:45, Partick Thistle and St. Johnston. Women's action, Amazon Prime, NWSL tonight, Portland and Seattle. Victory Plus has 2 available at 8 o'clock, Racing Louisville and Washington, Orlando and Denver. We will effort Jen Hildreth next week. Saturday, just to give you sports and channels. BNB and Espanol has the Polish League, CAF Champions League at noon, and a doubleheader in the French League. CBS Sports Network, Scottish Championship, Rangers and Aberdeen as they wind down closer to the split. Big FOX, Austin and LAFC, 8:55 kick. FS1, 6:25 kick. MLS, Nashville and Orlando. Fox Soccer Plus, Serie B doubleheader. USA, quadruple header in the Premier League. Brighton, Liverpool, Fulham, Burnley, Everton, Chelsea, Leeds, and Brentford. BN and Espanol simulcasting BN. ESPN Deportes, quadruple header, La Liga, 9, 11, 15, 1:30, and 4. Fox Deportes, Serie A, doubleheader, MLS doubleheader, night side. Telemundo simulcasting Everton and Chelsea, 2 to NA. Sábado Futbolero, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And also USL Championship. Universo, triple header, Premier League, 8:30, 11, and 1:30. Univision, Sábado Futbolero, 9 and 11. Apple TV, everybody on Major League Soccer on Saturday and Sunday. Golazo, triple header, English Championship, including Ipswich at 8:30, Watford at 11, Coventry at 1:15. Serie A, 3:45, Liga MX at 11, USL Championship, Indy and Detroit at 7 o'clock. So if you've got Golazo Network, they're stacked. ESPN Plus, A-League, Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, Drei Bundesliga, La Liga 2, everything in USL Championship in League 1. Fox O&E has Serie A doubleheader. They have Serie B access, and they have the 2 games in Major League Soccer. MLSNextPro.com, it is quadruple header or quadruple availability, 3, 6, and 2 at 8. Crew and FC Cincinnati, Dynamo Dos North Texas, Rapids 2, and San Jose, and Quakes 2, Huntsville City and Chattanooga. That rivalry at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Paramount Plus, English Championship, 4 matches available. League 1 a match available. League 2 a match available all in the morning. Serie A, 3 matches, 10, 1, and 3:45. Pumas on America at 11. Indy and Detroit at 7. Saturday on the women's side, NWSL triple header on ION. ESPN Plus, A-League, English Women's Super League, 2 matches available at 8 o'clock. Fox Soccer Plus, Serie A, Peacock Super League at 5 and 9. That gets you into Sunday. Sunday, just so you know, with MLS Next Pro, MLS Next Pro starts with us at 6:30 with Atlanta United 2 traveling to Matthews to take on Crown Legacy. And that is always as a part of a larger picture on Sunday, the day for MLS Next Pro. 4 matches on Saturday. Toronto FC 2 shut out NYCFC, the Pigeons, 5-0 on Thursday night up at York University. So Atlanta United 2 on the road. We're going to catch up with Jose Silva in a little bit, and we'll have that for you. Pregame 6:30, kick a little after 7 o'clock on the network. That one is tomorrow. That is on Sunday. So Sunday night, it'll be a Sunday night soccer involving MLS Next Pro, and no juice boxes available yet because matchups are still being pondered. So we'll find out what that's going to be like. So on the network, it is 6:30 on Sunday night pregame, 7:02 kick on the network. Atlanta United 2 at Crown Legacy. Today, doubleheader in Cedartown on the network, Dalton and Cedartown, and it is 5-7, traffic permitting. And we'll catch up with our friends at Doc Ayers, the first time that we've been there to broadcast matches, and we'll see what Cedartown is doing. They've lost a lot on the boys' side. They lost 10 to graduation, I believe. Dalton comes to town in a region match, and we'll see what it's like on the boys' and the girls' sides for Dalton as they take on Cedartown. Oh, we were going to look up stats for the man in the middle for Atlanta and DC in 25. So Jair Marufo in 2025. Let's just go back to see if we have numbers here. So Jair Marufo in the overall referee statistics. It's like when you reset the year, it resets everything on who scored. So ref statistics. I said 20. No, I don't want playoffs. I want regular season. Just regular season. That's all I want. And we go back to 25, and that means I have to hit ref stats all over again. Now, Jair Marufo last year, he called 19 matches, so he was 13th on the list. So middle of the pack, basically. Fouls per match, Jair Marufo let things breathe. Man in the middle, Jair Marufo, was next to last, really, in fouls called per match. 34th out of 38, but 2 of those had only 2 matches in the middle. Timothy Ford had 12 in the middle, and Alan Chapman had 26. So Jair Marufo, 34th out of 38, but really next to last when it came to numbers in the middle. Next to last in fouls at 21.63. Alan Chapman was almost 2/3 of a foul less than that. So 21.63 fouls, 34th out of 38. 0.70 in fouls per tackle. So that puts him 33rd. Not much different. Penalties per game, 28th. Yellows per game, 36th. So Jair Marufo lets you play. He's at the bottom of the stacks in 25. He lets you play. And so his 62 yellows last season were upper half. Okay. He was 18th out of 38 in yellows. So basically, when he called a foul 1 time every 7, it would end up as a yellow card. And that put him in the middle of the pack when it came to yellows by number. But he didn't really call a whole lot of fouls last year, near the bottom. But his yellows were sprinkled fairly readily. So keep an eye on Jair Marufo. Doesn't call a whole lot of fouls. Near the bottom. His yellows per foul, fairly normal. One out of every 7 turns into a yellow. So keep an eye on Jair Marufo. So he's going to let him play. So we'll keep an eye on that coming up this weekend. Wow, it's 11:30. Man, okay. We've gone way the hell over, and because there was a lot to get into. Was there anything else on my list? England call-ups, the sprint. We haven't even gotten into the sprint schedule. Wow, okay. So I guess we'll talk about the sprint schedule on Monday. So we'll see you at Mercedes-Benz on Saturday We will see you tonight for Dalton and Cedartown. And we will catch up with you back again here on Monday at 9:05 when it is Abe, Maddie, and Bart breaking it all down from the weekend after Atlanta and DC United. Okay, let's see if I can remember everybody. Mike Gramajo, WESH-TV in Orlando. Hunter Riggall, Marietta Daily Journal. Francisco X. Rivera from Apple TV, as well as Danny Higginbotham. And Dave Johnson, the voice of DC United, one of the legends in play-by-play here in the country. And he got to hang out with us a little bit too. So, in addition to the landscape, GMC men's soccer at Mercer today at 5 o'clock. Okay. So keep an eye out for GMC and Mercer at 5 if you're in Middle Georgia today. So keep an eye out on that one. So morning PBC, Ricky, David. Let's see. Abby is in this morning. And once again, reminding us, first day of spring, dollar small soft serve at Carvel. Now, Abby, David, I thought we fixed it with the thicker line too. Bam, good morning. And Alex is in there as well. So David and Alex and Lokeville, good morning. I don't know if it's going to be 3-1. Might be 2-1, might be 2-0. I think that they get one, but I think that from Barabo probably. But I think it'll probably be 2-1 because I think that the defense might be better with DC than it was with Philly, as we heard from Danny Higginbotham this morning. So morning Shooter, morning Alex, morning Ricky, morning Jordan. And that's everybody that was in the Twitch pitch. But can't thank all of y'all enough for hanging out with us. We went long. We had to. We had a lot of guests. And it was a lot to get into. Bart Keeler and everybody there at Soccer for USPUD. He'll be back on Monday. Dave Johnson, Danny Higginbotham, Francisco X. Rivera. And it was Hunter Riggall, Marietta Daily Journal, Mike Gramajo, WESH-TV in Orlando, talking about Oscar Pareja and Martin Perelman and what it looks like from there. 5 and 7. Dalton and Cedartown. Probably more like 5:30 and 7:30 with traffic. It's a Friday. We'll find out. Anyway, that's the day. That's the week. That's the weekend. Thanks to all of y'all folks for hanging out as you always do. And because it is Friday, and thanks to Scott Wells from Asheville City, by the way. Since it is Friday, we always have to end the show on Friday one way, and one way in particular. And thanks to all of y'all. We'll see you on see you Saturday, see you Friday, see you Sunday. Back here on Monday morning, 9:05 Eastern. Send it home for yet another week of SDH AM. Catch your breaths, folks. Get your lunch. We'll see you soon.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours, be